Hello Avatar fans, and welcome to the next episode of the Avatar Online podcast. This is going to be episode 201 of our regular shows, and we're recording this on February 10th, 2019. This is the official podcast for the fan site AvatarTheLastAirbenderOnline.com. I'm going to be your main host, Morgan Airspeed Prime. Joining me on the podcast is Greg2B from the site.
What's up, everyone?
Excellent. And on today's show, the plan is that we have two important pieces of comic news to talk about, and then we're going to get into our big discussion on the Avatar Awards, which were something I did on my YouTube channel. I think we talked about it on the last podcast. The results are out, and I've revealed the winners on my channel during the week, but here I have more the statistics and so on, second place, third place, as well as basically everything else with regards to the counting of the awards. So we'll have a full discussion on each of the awards, the winners, revealing what we individually voted for, and so on. So you definitely stay tuned for that. A very interesting discussion there, as a kind of using the awards as a sort of survey on how the fandom feels. But yeah, we'll start with the news. So first up, of two solicitations of books that just came out, we have Avatar The Last Airbender Imbalance Part 3. We have the cover, release date, and description synopsis for this book. So the release date is September 10th, 2019. This is a Tuesday, so they're continuing with that trend of the new books being confirmed for Tuesday releases, which means the digital release is going to come first, which really helped with the last book, so that's positive. As for the description says, Team Avatar faced their most dangerous foe yet, as the Bender versus non-Bender conflict turns into an all-out war in this action-packed conclusion to the Imbalance arc. While Aang grapples with a life-changing decision that only he can make as the Avatar, Toph and Katara implore him from opposite sides to choose a path. Meanwhile, Ru and Ya Ling concoct a fiery ploy to get their mother back. The Bender versus non-Bender conflict finally reaches a powerful boiling point, and for better or for worse, Cranefish Town will never be the same. So yeah, we finally have the details here on the last part of Imbalance. Greg, what are your thoughts on the description there for Imbalance, as well as the cover, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, the cover I think looks pretty cool. It definitely looks pretty ominous. It definitely gives you the idea of them being on sort of like, I guess, opposing sort of ideas of how to deal with it. It definitely looks like something really big went down in Cranefish Town from the previous one. So that's definitely interesting. Not that the last one didn't look almost as sort of like devastating, but this one seems more ominous since they're sort of looking over everything. But no, I think the description of it, I think it's definitely sounds interesting. I mean, it's always interesting sort of getting these sort of descriptions, like, you know, before we've read the previous one, or, you know, before the whole thing sort of finished, because it, you know, sort of gives it kind of a way of certain things that we sort of were trying to figure out. But no, I think overall, I think it's definitely, I don't know, it's interesting just to see how, you know, Aang's going to, I guess, have to really sort of decide on this and how it's really going to affect Cranefish Town and just sort of like everything that comes after it, which we sort of know from seeing Korra and stuff. So it's interesting to see how they're, you know, sort of taking this.
Yeah. I like the cover because I like Peter Wortman's art. I think looking at all three Imbalance covers, you know, they're a little bit samey. It's just like the characters in Cranefish Town, and then it's like continuous, like the first one's like perfectly fine. Part 2, I think, is them, you know, with some like ruined buildings, and here everything's on fire, so just getting worse and worse, but nothing overly distinct. Like there's no Suki on the cover, like we know at some point she's going to be in the series. And similarly, I suppose, with the description, it's interesting that of all the characters we like expect to sort of play a role in this book, it's interesting that like Sokka and Suki both like aren't mentioned in any of the descriptions in terms of like any of the main plots, whereas you'd think Sokka would perhaps be presenting an interesting opinion, given that we're Bender versus non-Bender, but it specifically specifies here that it's Toph versus Katara, kind of urging Aang to take opposite kind of sides on things. Now, obviously, that's a plot point that hasn't really been set up just yet, because Toph doesn't even know about the whole Aang suggesting the police force thing yet. Katara does, and is very, very supportive of Aang. So that's probably the most interesting thing from this to me, is just like, what decision is that in terms of Toph, like, obviously she has a sort of connection to the city because her father helped to like basically make it what it was, but like, are they deciding like how to handle benders, non-benders. That's interesting because Katara is always going to take, I think, the opinion of whatever will help like the most people possible. That's just the way she is. She wants to help people. Toph, from what we got in Balance Part 1, was a little bit more like not thinking as much about the people, and that she seemed fairly okay with just that the Benders lost their jobs because of new technology, and she didn't really seem to care. So, is it something about that? I'm not entirely sure, but what are your thoughts on that? Like, what sort of thing do you think this life-changing decision is about that would cause Toph and Katara to be on opposite sides about?
I don't know. I really, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things getting it ahead of time. But I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see it being something just with the progress of just Crayfish Town in general. I mean, like you sort of said, Toph, she seems sort of okay with them sort of losing, sort of their jobs. But, that really seemed mainly just because, her sort of idea of being sort of like unique with metal bending still seems to be sort of intact. So I wonder if that sort of continues on into the next two parts of this and if that's sort of it. But I mean, I definitely could see, I don't know, I guess just sort of them. I mean, it definitely seems like, like you said, Qatar definitely, usually goes for the most people. So I definitely could see Toph being something on some side more with like sort of the business side or maybe more with sort of progress and sort of how that's sort of working rather than the other side. I don't know. It's definitely interesting or wondering what it could really be.
Yeah, like I see some people suggest that maybe it's like someone brings up the idea of like, hey, Aang, you can take people's bending away if they're like bending criminals. Why don't you just do that? And that maybe being
Mm.
what they're arguing about, because Aang would struggle with that in general, and then Katara as a bender, they're both benders though. I suppose that's the thing. You could maybe say
Yeah.
the Toph would be maybe for just like, yeah, take their bending away. Who cares? Just because she is a little bit uncaring, at least how she's been presented so far, and Katara would, I think, be more understanding of that. But I don't think we know enough to suggest that, because like we know eventually Aang gets to the point where like he's willing to take the bending away from people who he feels are that dangerous. That's what happened with Yukon. That's what happened with Ozai. So, but it doesn't seem like he just does that to every criminal that happens. So, um, definitely interesting. September 10th means like it's basically a 4 month wait between the books. That's very standard scheduling. So I think part two's out in May. This one being in September. That's perfectly fine on schedule. So that's really good. The other one that came out, obviously, Runes of the Empire Part 1 and Imbalance Part 3 are like a week apart. So I think that's why we expected. Sorry, Runes of the Empire Part 1 and Imbalance Part 2 are scheduled to come out less than like a week apart. So that's why we expected the Runes of the Empire Part 2 information to come out very quickly after the Imbalance Part 3 information. And we have it here. So, Legend of Korra Runes of the Empire Part 2, coming out October 8th, 2019. We did get the cover, and the description is this. It's a very interesting description. What will it take to stop a war? King Wu's dreams of peacefully transitioning the Earth Kingdom into a democracy are in danger when Commander Guan throws his political hat in the ring, hoping to subvert the new system from the inside out. But playing fair was never part of his plan. Guan and Dr. Shang are using terrifying new technology to cement Guan's win. In a desperate attempt to save the Earth Kingdom from falling back into the dark days of conquest and empire, Korra and Kuvira convince an old friend to return and take the former commander on in the polls, but will it be enough? And on the cover we have Kuvira front and center, Korra's also there, and then either side of the cover we have Toph and Su Yin. So this was an interesting reveal in that, at least for me initially, I think for most people, we just got the description, no cover, then the cover came out and it sort of gave us a bit more of an insight into what they're talking about here. Now, this is a bit of a difficult one because obviously we, apart from the first couple of pages of Runes of the Empire, we actually don't know what the full plot is. So they're talking about Commander Guan, Dr. Shang. I get the impression they're obviously former Earth Empire people, and that's what I think the Part 1 description is partly talking about, that the remnants of the Earth Empire are still causing issues, and that realistically is probably why Kuvira is allowed to seemingly get out of her trial, at least temporarily, to help in all of this, because she'd know who her subjects are the best. But Greg, what are your thoughts on the Runes of the Empire Part 2 description and cover?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the cover is kind of cool. I mean, it sort of fits sort of what they're sort of going for. I like how it's sort of designed and laid out. So for me, the cover works. I think it's pretty interesting. But the idea of what's sort of happening in this, I think it's pretty interesting. Definitely sounds, the fact that there's, I mean, there's other characters that we don't necessarily know. I think that makes it all the more sort of intriguing with what's sort of going on, and the fact that we do have, Kuvira helping us, even though of everything that she's done in the past. I think that's definitely going to be interesting just to see how that sort of dynamic and relationship plays out with everything that she's sort of done in the past. If this is, I don't know, some way of them sort of putting her back on like the sort of right path despite everything that she's done. I'm not sure how far they'll push that. But the fact that her old friend who for whatever reason I guess is on the better side of things is actually going to sort of put their name in for this sort of election, as opposed to this other commander Guan. I think it's, I don't know, it's definitely going to be cool to see how this sort of plays out. I mean, I know sometimes we don't like the politics stuff as much, but this seems sort of interesting since they're sort of starting this from the ground up, and we already noticed sort of some turmoil. So, I mean, I guess you could say we have sort of seen sort of, the political aspect of this sort of play out before, but I think, I don't know, maybe just the fact that it's in the Earth Kingdom makes it sort of interesting, and the fact that there's some new sort of, technological sort of advancement. I think that's probably the most sort of intriguing thing to me of this description. Like, what is this new tech thing that's sort of really helping them in this? I mean, this is something that's sort of for battle, since they sort of mentioned that, they're trying to set them back to sort of their old ways of the empire. Is this something that's going to like have them go back to trying to sort of take over everything again, or is it, something completely different that we haven't really thought of? So, no, I think this is definitely a cool one for me.
Yeah, like there's definitely a similarity here in that Turf Wars was, at least in the side plot, all about a presidential
Hmm.
election, and effectively that's what this is as well. They haven't confirmed yet if we're going to get a president of the Earth Empire, but Earth Kingdom, but that's more or less what they're aiming for, I suppose. I think most people are agreeing on the idea that the old friend that's going to return and take the commander on the poles will be Su Yin. Um, just because, like, nothing we know suggests that like Su Yin just by default is going with Korra and Kuvira, and with her being the character who is most, I suppose, in need of getting development with Kuvira, it sort of makes too much sense that like it fits into her arc as well. Of the reason there's a whole rift between Kuvira and Su Yin in the first place is that Kuvira wanted Su to accept the position of like taking over command while the Earth Kingdom was in chaos in the aftermath of Book Three. Su Yin refused because she didn't want to like usurp power, and that's what caused their conflict. Su Yin is a good leader, as evidenced by Zhao Fu, so if she went about it the proper way, I think she'd be a bit more for it, with no
Hmm.
other obvious candidates, and especially if Guan turns out to be really bad, like they don't want him to win. To me, that makes sense for Su on multiple fronts, in that it gives an opportunity for Su and Kuvira to develop their relationship. Uh, Maybe have Su explain better why she chose not to take over, and just get into the whole stuff that we always discuss as being a little bit lacking from Book Three. Just the development of that, why exactly Kuvira left so suddenly, and why everything changed so quickly. Um, so I think that's interesting. Toph being on the cover, I think, surprised everyone, just because it feels like this is a very political book. Toph, especially older Toph, feels very like removed from politics, and why would she care necessarily? But if Su Yin's going to run for leadership, I could see her backing her up in some way. And then I actually really like to see Toph and Kuvira interact a bit more than the whole you give metalbenders a bad name bit. Just because if you look at Kuvira as being Su Yin's daughter, then Toph is like also technically her grandmother, if you really make those connections. Even though Kuvira and Su Yin never really showed much of a mother-daughter relationship, but it makes sense. Like they're probably the two most powerful metal benders, Toph and Kuvira, so just their interaction seems very, very interesting to me. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the old friend is Sue, or can you think of anyone else it could be?
I mean, I can't think of anyone else. But I mean, they could introduce another character that we're just not sort of aware of. Like I wouldn't. I mean, I could see them introducing someone new that we just don't know of. It could be someone from that they all sort of know but hasn't really been in the spotlight. They could do something like that. But I guess out of the people that we do know already, Sue would seem sort of logical choice, just because of her presence and her sort of role in leadership. I mean, I can see that, even though she would probably be a good role for it, I could definitely see, the opposition pointing out enough sort of points of why she might not be, such a good person for this position. So it's not, even if she is sort of, in this, it's not going to be something that's so easy for her to just sort of win the race. Just because, I mean, the other person is a former commander, so I'm guessing they have some political sort of pull in the nation. So, it's definitely not going to be, it doesn't seem like it would be such an easy or such a clear choice from the people's perspective, depending on what he sort of has done. I don't know what this other, commander, has done at all. So it could be either way, but I don't know. I do like the idea of, Suyum being involved in that sort of developing the relationship with Kavir that we haven't sort of seen before, since that's one of the things that we're always sort of noting that is sort of been lacking, since we know there is some sort of history there, but we don't really know the history. So this would be a good time for them to sort of throw some flashbacks or even just some sort of dialogue dumps sister. If they're just forced to be with each other, something eventually is going to have to break and there's going to have to talk about something. I mean, maybe it won't be like the super details that we've always sort of wanted, but it'll probably be more than what we already know. So, yeah, I think that would be cool just from a story perspective if that is something that they do sort of try to go down. And, with Toph involved, I mean, I don't know. This seems like there's some sort of, battle, some sort of fight going on. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Toph isn't involved in it from that sort of aspect, even if she has nothing really to want to do with like, the world at large or the Earth Kingdom at large, just because that's just sort of her mentality. But she's always there to sort of help out in the sort of last minutes.
Mm. Yeah, the other thing is interesting, just in terms of like setting, is that the city in the background is, I think, clearly Republic City. So even though we're talking a lot about the Earth Kingdom, it doesn't obviously look like we're going to like immediately go to like Ba Sing Se, Omashu, that sort of thing. Now, obviously, Republic City is basically in the Earth Kingdom because of like where the location is. In that, like, they just have to literally get out of the boundaries of Republic City and they're in a part of the Earth Kingdom. So it's like it is right there. They're still on the continent of the Earth Kingdom. So, but it is a bit of a weird one that it seems like we're still sort of stuck in a way in Republic City. So I hope at some point we do actually get to go to some of these places, just to even see like what Ba Sing Se is like. I assume it's still in chaos now that the Earth Empire are sort of out of power, and they were the ones who sort of brought stability back in the first place. So, there's a lot of chaos still going on, and I suppose that's why they're referencing the whole idea of what if it returns back into the days of conquest and empire. But that's just something interesting, just in terms of the setting. I think that was a large part of Turf Wars, why it was a little bit dull in parts. It's just that we were so locked into the city and there wasn't a lot going on. There seems like there's more interesting character interactions here, which is good, but at the same time, no mention of Mako, Bolin, or Asami here. Now, I think the Part 1 description references that, like, Sais are going to be taking over the Kuvira issue, and very obviously Asami is going to be anti-Kuvira because she killed her father. Mako's the police officer, so I suppose he'd be anti-Kuvira, and then Bolin's a little up in the air because he worked for Kuvira, but also was sort of betrayed by Kuvira as well. So what role do you think the other characters are going to play? Because I still feel like Asami especially needs development.
Yeah, no, I don't know, because they're not really giving us too much, sort of anything as far as what our other sort of characters are really doing at this point here. I mean, they're on the cover of the other one, so clearly they're involved in some sort of capacity here. But no, I don't know. I mean, the brothers, I definitely could see them being involved just because, they do have, some history with the Earth Kingdom just in general, just from their lineage. So, I mean, it would be interesting to definitely have them involved. I don't know. I don't know how much they're sort of going to play into the whole, sort of political aspect. I don't know. I mean, maybe Bolin, he could be involved in that just because he does have that whole sort of presence before. But, him lending a hand to Kavir or any of our other characters seems like sort of like they're going to need a lot of sort of convincing. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe something happens in part one where they see, the benefit of sort of helping this, or maybe they're just sort of, helping just because of Su Yin. So I don't know. They're definitely not. I don't know. There's not really enough in this from the first part description to sort of say what they're really sort of having involvement in here, other than the fact that they don't see eye to eye with what Korra is doing. So maybe they're not with this at all, and they're just sort of on the sidelines. Maybe that's why we don't really see too much about them.
Mm. Yeah, I get the impression this might be where they decide to do the kind of the big disagreement between Korra and Asami and have the first like issue with their relationship. Just because Korra at all wanting to maybe speak out for Kuvira to help with whatever is going on, or not be punished as harshly as maybe she's going to be, could be where they disagree on things, partly because of the whole Kuvira killed Hiroshi issue. I think that would be an interesting one because obviously Korra and Kuvira, they made a point in book 4 at showing like how similar they were in many ways, so that's why Korra like has sympathy to a degree for Kuvira and would want to help her in some way, and not just like have her thrown in prison for the rest of her life. So I think that could be interesting once they, I suppose, give Asami enough development on that front. But yeah, I'm super excited for Runes of the Empire when it comes out. I think of like all of the comics, I think it definitely, to me, it has the most interest. So yeah, October 8th, so it's about 4.5 months, closer to 5 months between this, but it's a new creative team. I don't really have too much of a problem there. It seems like a realistic date that they might not change as much now. I think the only confusing thing with the dates at the moment is that Team Avatar Tales is still up in the air, to the point where like half of the places you look won't even have a listing for it. Half of the places are saying it's 2020, but Dark Horse themselves are still saying that it's out in less than a month on a Wednesday. So we're still waiting for the date change for that. I don't have a clue what's up with that book, because it should be out, because like it's half reprint, and then there's so many creators working on it that like the biggest story must be like 10 pages. So I don't know what's going on. Do you have any thoughts on the delays or what's going on, the lack of information on Team Avatar Tales?
No, no, it's I don't know. It's too bad because you definitely would sort of expect it to be sort of here already, but I don't know. There could be any number of things.
So with that, we'll move away from news into our discussion about the Avatar Awards. So straight away, if you aren't familiar with what we discussed last week or haven't seen the videos on my channel, what the Avatar Awards were I basically led with a YouTube video about a month ago, start of January. I listed out 35 different award categories for people, anyone basically, to vote. I let people vote in the comments of YouTube, let them email me to vote, and I left the voting open for a month. And obviously earlier this week, that month passed. I counted up all the votes and put out the winners, only the winners, in a video earlier this week. And here today, what we're going to do is more discuss the winners of each of the votes, each of the awards. So myself and Greg will reveal what we voted for, but we'll also talk about the winner, in addition to revealing what came second, third, and anything interesting else that the votes said about each of the awards. So we'll just go straight through. We'll go through it award by award, discussing it as we go, and hopefully we won't be here forever. So the first award is the most simple one, in that there are only 3 things to vote for in it, and that was Best Book. So obviously we only have Book 3 Fire, Book 2 Earth, and Book 1 Water, and that is the order that they came in. So the winner, the best book as voted for by everyone, was Book 3 Fire. In second place was Book 2 Earth, and then in third place was Book 1 Water. The interesting thing with the votes on this is that Book 1 got no votes whatsoever. No one voted for Book 1, which I get completely. It is definitely between Book 3 and 2. Myself, I voted for Book 3. Greg, what did you vote for?
book three as well.
Okay, so with this one, it's an interesting one actually because when we did awards in the past, I think it was a good while ago on the podcast. I don't know if we discussed them. It might have just been a post thing I did up on the site. But book two won, and book two won fairly comfortably. And I'd always got the impression that in general the fandom tended to lean in the on the side of like book two kind of edging out book three. So it was actually interesting to see it win, book three win, and win fairly comfortably. In that, like, if I look at the votes here, it's like uh, book three got like 30 votes, and then book two got around 20 votes. In that overall, about 53 people voted. Some people didn't vote in most of the categories, so there's really about like 50 complete votes to go off. So it was interesting that, like, you know, for every three votes that book three got, there were only two votes for book two. So it was a comfortable victory for book three, which kind of surprised me a little bit based on what I expected. But I, of course, agree with this as the winner. But what are your thoughts on the results of the best book here?
That is interesting. I mean, I would think, I don't know, now thinking about it, I think that sounds interesting because I can't remember what I would have picked from before. I mean, I picked three for this one just because it seems like, I guess sort of the idea is sort of like, the books sort of got better as they sort of developed the story, they developed the characters, and just the general sort of look of the show sort of improved. So it's not too surprising that book one doesn't have any votes or too many votes, just because that is generally considered weaker, just because it's just sort of not as top tier as the later ones are. But no, that is interesting considering that before two always won, which I definitely could see why two would win, because that it is a good book, and there is a lot of sort of very sort of moving parts and elements to that one that definitely make it worthwhile voting for. But no, I mean I think it's sort of I don't know, it seems to me that it would be okay that three would win, but I guess it really could have been either or.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one for me because obviously in the middle of last year I did like a really detailed analysis thing after I completed a rewatch of Avatar, and I put out as a video my complete list of episodes, and then I did like analysis on it in terms of like it was like a tiered kind of structure and stuff like that. And like after all the analysis, like I personally would say book three is my favorite, but also like on the stats, book three came out on top. And at least for me personally, the reason for that is that book three has like so many of the most highly rated episodes, and I don't tend to overly criticize the first half of the season. And to me, that beats out book two overall being very consistent, but it also doesn't have as many of the really, really high episodes. It has more of the like middle to high episodes, and I think that's more or less on average why I'd say book three kind of wins out. But that's just, of course, based on my list. The next award, so we'll do these two at the same time. Best and worst book one episode. Two separate awards, of course, but we'll do them both for book one here at the same time. So the best book one episode, the winner was 112, The Storm. Second place was 120, Siege of the North Part 2. And then in third place was 113, The Blue Spirit. In terms of best episode, I voted for 120, so the second place one is what I voted for. Greg, what did you vote for as your best book one episode?
I actually voted for the Siege of the North Part One.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. In terms of other stuff, basically after the three that placed, there was one vote here and there for everything, and then 108 got two votes. So apart from the three obvious winners, nothing else really stood out all that much, at least based off these votes. So nothing else in the statistics. This one surprised me a bit in that, like, I rate The Storm very, very highly. I think it is one of the best episodes in the book. I just tend, at least when we've previously done stuff like this, I've always tended to get the impression that most of the fandom tends to lean towards the finales when it comes to best episodes. So it was actually very interesting to see more of a standalone episode win. So I'm all for this because I can completely get behind The Storm as being a really, really highly respected episode. The Blue Spirit coming third. that's an interesting one to me in that like I rated highly in book one, maybe not that highly overall, but I probably like what you voted for. Probably would have put this first part of the finale or even Waterbending Master ahead of the Blue Spirit. But it's a Zuko episode, and as we'll see, Zuko's going to do very well in these awards. So what are your thoughts on the winner for the book one best episode?
No, I think that's definitely deserved. The Storm is definitely, I think, as a sort of a standalone sort of, episode from book one, I think that's definitely one that has a lot of, just sort of feeling behind it. So I think, especially for an early on episode, I think that's definitely one of the ones that, a lot of people make note of. The other ones, I think, with the Zuko one, that definitely, I don't know, for him, for his sort of type of episodes, I think I could sort of see why. And the Siege of the North, I definitely get why, part two, or I just picked part one just because I like that one more for whatever reason. But I can definitely see why that would sort of be picked. The two parters I think are definitely always one of the ones that people sort of consider as sort of favorite sort of episodes, just because they do, they have like sort of a through line that encompasses two episodes, and it's usually sort of a bigger end result. So that sort of makes sense to me as well.
Mm-hmm. As for worst book one episode, the winner, of course, was 111, The Great Divide. In second place was 115, Bato of the Water Tribe. And in third place was a tie between 114, The Fortune Teller, and 117, The Northern Air Temple. Just based off the statistics, don't read too much into like The Fortune Teller and The Northern Air Temple as third place. They only got 2 votes each, so like it was a tie between like, not a lot. Everything else only got 1 vote, of course. So the only ones that actually got votes more than 2 were the first and second place one, and the Great Divide won by a landslide in that Bot of the Water Tribe only got 6 votes to come in second, and then like that obviously leaves 111 to get like 35, 36 votes as the winner. So very comfortable. It is ultimately what I would say is, yes, it is the weakest episode of book one, and we'll see later on with the worst overall episode, it does quite well there. I don't think there's really any question other than to say, like, I don't hate it as much as most people do, in that I think it's actually a very interesting episode, the whole Earth Kingdom Tribes concept, and if they had just committed to, like, bringing them back, like, why didn't the characters from this come back in the invasion? This wouldn't, I don't think, be as hated. So, no real surprise there. I think Bottled Water Tribe makes sense as being the second kind of one here. There's a decent amount of episodes you can kind of think about for this. I tend to also place 107, the first Spirit World episode here, just for being very confusing with Spirit World mechanics. But I didn't really get that. I think I got 1 vote. But what are your thoughts on this? Pretty obvious, I think, as the winner.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the one that I voted for. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think at this point, I think it's just sort of like assumed to be sort of the worst episode, even if you don't really think about it that much. But yeah, I mean, I think, the fact that it is just so standalone, so throwaway, and doesn't really have any sort of like bearing on the story, overall. I mean, maybe it, added some sort of character development to our characters a little bit, but nothing that, you can really see that sort of passes on. So it's not too surprising to me.
Mm-hmm. Next, we'll move into best and worst book 2 episode. So the best book 2 episode, the winner was 220, Crossroads of Destiny. In second place was a tie between 207, Zuko Alone, and 211, The Desert. And then in third place was 215, The Tales of Ba Sing Se. And beyond that, 217, so Lake Laogai actually got a decent number of votes. 219, The Guru got a decent number of votes, as did The Library. And then everything else only got like 1 or 2 votes. So, this one there was a little bit more varied, which I think gives you the impression as it's like a pretty high quality book. But Crossroads of Destiny won fairly comfortably, and then the difference between second and third place is that the 2 that tied got like 6 votes, and the 1 that came in third only got 5. So, comfortable victory here. About what I expected. Like, I don't tend to personally rate Crossroads of Destiny like as being like that high, but I get why most people do. I voted for The Desert here, because I always talk about how much I love that episode. But Greg, what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on the winner here?
I voted for what did I vote for? I voted for the Chase. And then as far as the results, I definitely can see why. I think I have the Zuko loan for another one, so I didn't put it here. But so that's kind of what I would have expected probably to win on this one. I mean, the Tales of Boston saying I can see that being there too. The desert, that's definitely a good one too. Crossroads. I mean, I get Crossroads Destiny. I just for some reason I guess I just don't. That one doesn't pop up to my head as much as some of the other ones. But no, I definitely can see why all these are sort of up there.
Yeah, looking at my list here of like overall episodes, like yeah, in terms of top of the list, like the desert would be like my second favorite episode overall. Uh, I have the Guru up fairly highly.
Mm,
Zuko alone is fairly high as well. The Blind Bandit was one that actually surprised me with how few votes it got here in Book Two episodes. Just because like
mm,
Toph is such a popular character, that's her episode. But it got one vote, but I was surprised it wasn't kind of in contention with the likes of Zuko alone and stuff like that. But that's just an interesting one going off this. Next up, worst Book 2 episode. So the winner here was 205 Avatar Day. In second place was a four-way tie between the Avatar State 201, 204 The Swamp, 215 The Tales of Ba Sing Se, and 202 The Cave of Two Lovers. And then in third place was The Drill 213. I voted for The Drill here. I think I was one of two people to vote for that, which gives you the impression of like the statistics here. Second place, third place only got two votes. So this is an interesting one, but definitely, what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on the worst book two results here?
Yeah, I mean, I voted for Avatar Day, so I guess that's sort of in line with that. I mean, I guess just the idea that, Avatar Day won the most, and then there's like a four-way tie for second place, and then, the drill with only a couple votes. I mean, I guess it just shows you sort of, how, I guess, overall, better this book is, just because there's so much of I guess, sort of a split compared to just the one that is just sort of, sort of understood to just not be sort of the weaker. I mean, even the Avatar Day, I mean, I guess it's really just because it's just sort of like a fun sort of like throwaway episode. It doesn't really have any sort of bearing. I guess sort of like the Divide, but no, I don't know. I think that it feels like there's more stuff going on with it, or at least it has sort of like at least the episode has some history behind it at large, as opposed to sort of the Divide. So I mean, I guess in that regard is sort of is interestingly, I guess, a bit better than the other one. But for this book itself, it definitely seems like the weaker one of the episodes to me, at least.
Yeah, like I knew that this was always an episode that is like it's not the most liked episode, but like it winning so comfortably here. Like I said, third place only got two votes. The four-way tie is between like the four things that got three votes, and then like 205 is the only thing that got like what 26 votes it got to win. So it was the only really thing in contention to win here. And I struggle with that a little bit just because like this is the episode with like Kyoshi backstory. I think it's one of the funniest episodes of the series with like Detective Sokka, the whole justice system, the Wheel of Fortune thing for the different punishments and so on, and the prisoners. But I get it's not the most important thing. I think the thing to discuss here in book two across both the best and worst is how 215, the Tales of Ba Sing Se, placed both in the best and the worst. So it came third in terms of best book, and it was tied for second for worst book.
Mm,
Um, this this confused me in the best one because I was correcting that first and counting it. I was surprised to see so many people voting for it because I get it from the perspective of the tale of Iroh, and we'll see that come up again later on. But the whole episode, I don't see it. Like, it's fun. It's a unique and different type of episode. But like, the tale of Aang is just about animals. The tale of Momo is fun and it's emotional for what it is. The tale of Sokka is just some poems basically. There's bits and pieces going on there, but like I don't think it's the most important episode. So this is one where I kind of be like, I think in the case of a lot of the best votes it got, I get the impression it probably is people just thinking about the tale of Iroh. but and that's probably why it also got votes in worst. But what are your thoughts on the unique placement there for 215?
Yeah, no, that definitely is peculiar that it's in both of them for this specific one. But yeah, I think it's sort of like you said, it's just, the idea of just sort of Roku's sort of story pretty much sort of overrules sort of, everything else that's in it. Because I mean, when you think about that episode, I think about his story and, I can sort of piece together sort of the other ones, but they definitely don't have any sort of like bearing, overall at large that I really sort of, have to keep in mind, just to sort of, have a greater sort of impact on the show at large, other than, Roku's, Iroh's story. So I don't know. I guess for me, it just seems like that sort of would be the reason that that would be up there, even though I wouldn't necessarily put it up there for that specific reason because there are other parts to it.
Hmm. We'll move on to best and worst book three episode next. So best book three episode. The winner is 321 Avatar Aang, Part 4 Sozin's Comet. Second place is second place is 306 The Avatar and the Fire Lord, and then in third place it's 316 The Southern Raiders. I have to put a caveat in here, in that if I remember correctly, three people when voting for best book three episode, and this also comes back in best overall episode, just voted for Sozin's Comet, just on its own. So no individual episode part. And this is one of the closest things as well. So I'll go through third and second place. So the Southern Raiders, which came third, got 8 votes. The Avatar and the Fire Lord got 9 votes. And then the way I had to calculate this was because Part 4 got, what was it? It got 8 votes on its own. 320, so the third part of the finale, got 6 votes on its own, and then there were 3 votes that went to just Sozin's Comet on its own. So it was either this case of ignore those votes so that they don't go to any part of the finale, and then the Avatar and the Fire Lord wins by like 1, or I go with, I suppose, the spirit in a way of what people were voting for, which was a lot of the parts of the finale. And so I ended up just being like, okay, I'll give those votes to 321. So like, it's a difficult one in that it confuses, of course, the winners and stuff like that. But another way of kind of really viewing this is that, like, this is as close as you can probably come to being like a 4-way tie for the win. In that, like I said, 320, so Into the Inferno is also like right in there. But 306, 316, 320, 321, all super close. So I think the real way to view this is like 320/321 is the winner, and then, like, Sozin's Comet is the winner. Avatar and the Fire Lord is the best individual episode. It's confusing, but what was I really meant to do when that's the way the votes went? But I voted for the Southern Raiders, of course. That's my favorite episode of Avatar. But Greg, what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on this more confusing one?
Yeah, no, that definitely is a bit confusing when you sort of break it down like that. But I mean, I sort of struggled with that too as well, as far as like, like you think of like this whole sort of like ending part, especially since like I think when it originally aired, it aired like all together. Or maybe I'm not making that up. I can't remember, but
No, it
I
all
feel
aired
like,
together, I think.
Okay, it did. Okay, so I'm making that up. So yeah, so I mean, like, you feel like it's one big thing. I remember it being sort of like the whole sort of like movie event at the whole end of the whole, show and everything. So I could see why, people would say that, just because it's like it's just a big sort of thing. But yeah, it does have different parts to it. So I picked part 3 just because I remember that having like a cooler part to it, as far as like the fight scenes go or whatever. And it had like the Agni Kai fight. So that's like always one of the things that's sort of like always top in my sort of mind. So that's why I picked part 3 of Sozin's Comet. But I like the whole sort of thing, so I definitely can see, why that would be a thing that sort of would come up. But as far as the other ones, I definitely can see why those would be up there too as well. The Southern Raiders, I think, is definitely a great episode. And that episode sort of factors into sort of my picks as far as like character moments later on, even though I didn't pick sort of the episode itself.
Hmm. And yeah, like the Avatar and the Fire Lord getting so many votes surprised me a little bit. Like I've always rated it like super high. I love those type of big backstory episodes. It's super
Hmm.
important. Um, I never got the impression it was like that loved by the fandom that it
Yeah.
like is basically the best individual episode from book three, basically, or a tie for it. Um, in terms of other stuff, the Firebending Masters got 4 votes, as did the Puppet Master. Those are the what you would
Mm.
call, I suppose, fourth and fifth placed ones. 315, the Boiling Rock. This was another one where like I think all of those votes are just for the Boiling Rock, not a specific part of the Boiling Rock. And no one voted for an individual part. So the, it's mostly end of the book stuff, apart from Avatar and the Fire Lord. So that's interesting. Worst book three episode. The winner here is 309, Nightmares and Daydreams. Second place is a tie between 302, The Headband, and 303, The Painted Lady. And then in third place is 307, The Runaway. Let me flip over here to the results here. So, yeah, Nightmares and Daydreams won this fairly comfortably, 21 votes. The tie is between 302 and 303, which each got 10 votes. And then 307 got 5 votes. And then there were actually only 3 other things voted for in this category. 1 vote for Sokka's Master, 1 vote for the Puppet Master, and 1 vote for the Beach. And that's everything. I personally voted for 309, Nightmares and Daydreams. And I've kind of been very much on the track of like kind of campaigning that this is a weaker episode than The Great Divide, because I think the Aang plot with the daydreams and nightmares doesn't really amount to all that much. It could be a very interesting, serious plot, but the way they take it just ends up kind of being a bit of a waste of time. The Zuko stuff is good in this episode, but the focus is definitely on the Aang side of things, which is, the way they resolve it as well, with just the pep talk just before it. It doesn't amount to much, and then Sokka has a better version of this exact same thing in the next episode. So that's why I think this comfortably wins as just being the most kind of throwaway episode in the series, in my opinion. But Greg, what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on the results?
I voted for the headband, so that came in second place. But as far as Nightmare and Daydreams, I can see why that would be up there. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it has like, I don't know. In my mind, it always feels like it has potential to have like, I don't know, like sort of like a really sort of like reason for it being there, and sort of giving Aang sort of confidence. But when you think about sort of like what it sort of amount to, is it doesn't really hold as much water as sort of other episodes or other similar sort of episodes sort of do. So I can see why most people would sort of pick it up there. And the Painted Lady and the Headband is sort of I don't know. I think they're interesting. Even the Runaway, I think they're interesting sort of like episodes on their own. They just seem to have I guess not as much sort of I don't know, sort of emphasis, or sort of anything that sort of pushes them on to sort of like the other episodes. But they they're interesting on their own, like just seeing sort of Katara sort of doing her own sort of thing, and sort of seeing Aang doing his own sort of thing. So I don't know, maybe because they're two sort of standalone is sort of why they come up there in this sort of worst book 3 episodes.
Yeah, like I understand they're not the most important episodes. I personally was very glad that they weren't really in contention for winning this, just because like 302, that has the Katango in it. Like you can't, that can't ever win at like the worst episode. And then like 303 is like a personal favorite of mine, The Painted Lady. I'm glad that such a good Katara episode didn't end up winning it. But we'll do I suppose worst episode overall next, because it's an easier one. So the winner here was The Great Divide, of course. Second place was Nightmares and Daydreams. And then in third place was a tie between 205 Avatar Day and 115 Bottle of the Water Tribe. This went about as expected, because of course we did the individual book worst awards, and this fits completely in line with that. All of these have appeared previously. The Great Divide did win this, like, again, super, super comfortably. What is this? 10, 20, 31 votes. 309, which came in second place, got 6 votes. So, huge, huge difference in that. And then the tie for third place is just 3 votes. So, and then there's nothing else really to say beyond the fact that the Northern Air Temple surprisingly got 2 votes. at least two voters really didn't like that episode. I voted for Nightmares and Daydreams, of course. That's what I place as being the worst episode. But I get why The Great Divide is there. Like, to me, The Great Divide is my, I think, second bottom of my list. So it's close, but like it's not too much to disagree on there. But what did you vote for here, and what are your thoughts on this result?
Yeah, no, I agree with all this. I voted for the Great Divide. So, I mean, the fact that we've seen all these before just sort of, makes sense that this would be how this would sort of play out.
Yeah. Best overall episode has sort of the same issues as best book 3 episode, because again, those three people also voted for Sozin's Comet here, and it was unfortunate that even though mixing all of the episodes together, it still ended up that was the thing that gave victory to 321 Avatar Aang, at least in how like I placed the votes. And second place was a tie between Crossroads of Destiny and the Avatar and the Fire Lord, and then third place went to the Southern Raiders. And this is how close this is. 321 wins with 9 votes. The tie is between Crossroads of Destiny and Avatar and the Fire Lord with 8 votes, and then Southern Raiders has 6 votes. Zuko alone actually did surprisingly well here. It got 4 votes. And then again, the Tales of Ba Sing Se came up here again with 3 votes. So again, it seems like in or around 3-4 voters really, really liked this episode. So I think the results here are fairly interesting in that, like, okay, finale in general, like we've kind of discussed already, that sort of confusion. The finale is really well liked, but also the Crossroads of Destiny is super, super well liked, and I was actually mainly impressed with how well the Avatar and the Fire Lord did compared to Crossroads of Destiny, that it was a tie between them. That kind of surprised me. And then the Southern Raiders continuing to be right up here, I think is really cool to see. But yeah, I voted for the Southern Raiders. As I said, it's my favorite episode of Avatar. But Greg, what was your vote here, and what were your thoughts on the result of best overall episode?
So I voted for Zuko alone, so it's interesting to see that had some sort of place with other people. But no, I mean, I could see why, sort of the finale sort of episode and sort of the whole sort of, I guess, sort of hard way of sort of figuring out the sort of results for this one would be sort of a bit of a task, just because of how people sort of put it down. So, I mean, it's not too surprising the ones that did sort of win here. I mean, it sort of, sort of goes along the lines with just sort of best of book 3. So, I mean, I think the ending sort of episodes usually sort of resonate in people's minds more regardless, is because it's sort of the end, it's sort of the culmination of everything. So unless there's like a previous episode like the Southern Raiders that sort of really, really sort of stands out to you, or the Crossroads of Destiny, then there's usually sort of the ending episodes that I feel are always sort of the winners here. I mean, I just try to spread out my sort of answers, so I sort of flip-flop them, but I think it's definitely, it makes sense to me why these ones would win overall.
Mm-hmm. Next award, getting out of the focus on episodes and books, is favorite character, or I suppose most popular character. That's the way I kind of ask people to vote here. This is the popularity contest one. There is a best character development award a little bit further down. So the winner here was Zuko. Second place was a tie between Aang and Iroh, and in third place was Katara. So Zuko won fairly comfortably. He got 14 votes. The tie between Aang and Iroh, they both got 10 votes. Katara got 6 votes. Toph comes next with 4 votes. Azula actually has 3 votes in here. And then there's like 1 for a bunch of other characters. But this is what I expected, really. I thought Toph would actually do better. I thought Toph would get to the point where she maybe beat out Katara, just because I think Toph fans tend to are super heavily for Toph. So that was an interesting one that she did well, but not quite enough to place this highly. So Katara ended up surprising me with how many people voted for her. I think for most people, Katara almost tends to be that like second, maybe third favorite character. So her doing that well, I thought was really good. I probably would place her as like my second favorite character. But yeah, I expected Zuko to win, and he did. It was closer than I expected, though, in terms of just the straight up, popularity one. But Greg, what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on the favorite character winner?
Yeah, I voted for Qatar, so nice to see that she's up there in the list here. But yeah, no, Zuko being at the top, I think, is sort of like a given just because of everything, and Aang, being the main character is there, and Iroh's just he's just sort of like a fan favorite in
Yeah.
general. So it doesn't surprise me that he's sort of up here in the ranks. Like I would expect him to be, somewhere near the top tier, even if he wasn't one, two, and three, just because people sort of, they really sort of like him, even if they don't think of him as their like favorite character.
Mm. Yeah, like Ira almost like transcends the show as just being like even non-fans like favorite character, just because like
Yeah.
you've probably seen a screenshot with a piece of his advice on it or something like that. But yeah, next up we have worst character, and the winner here was Jet. Second place was Zhao, and third place was King Kuei. This is, I think, one where I probably wished I had like worded the award maybe slightly differently, but in the end I kind of realized like what am I trying to say with like worst character? So, um, it's a bit of a weird one in terms of I'm not really sure what to make out of this. Is that like his worst character development? Is it just the character that people disliked the most? But either way, like Jet won fairly comfortably. He got 9 votes. Zhao in second place got 6 votes. Quay got 4 votes. And then we get into the characters like I thought would win fairly comfortably. Mayor Tong, who is the Just Us guy with the Just Us
Mm.
system. Han, of course, who's the guy who's competing with Sokka for UAs in the finale of Book One. Who else do we have here? Got the Ganjin leader for some reason. Meng is in here. Combustion Man. A couple of people voted for Mei. General Fong. And then there's lots of like people voting for like one, just one vote for a specific character. Um, so I don't know a bit of vagueness here in terms of like the villains got a lot of votes. Was that what maybe what some people thought I meant by like worst as in most villainous
Mm.
or um but it surprises me that Jet won and won as comfortably as he did because I never really associate him as being like he's a terrible character or anything like that. Especially with like how he meets his end and the sympathy that you can kind of have for him because it's so shocking and sudden how it happens. Um, that to me means that like I can't really vote for him as being this low, even though like I'd vote the episode Jet from Book One as being one of my lower rated Book One episodes. The return of the character, I think, kind of highlights him into being kind of a memorable character that I liked. Zhao King Kuei, I can sort of see that as like Zhao's that kind of like annoying Book One villain. He plays his role, but like you're not meant to like him. And then King Kuei, I suppose, he's purposely presented as being an ineffectual leader, and it really takes until the comics for him to really come around. So I think this being, for the most part, focused on the series, I think that's probably why he appears here. But Greg, what did you vote for here? And just, I suppose, what are your thoughts on the interpretation of this award and who won?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the most interesting thing because I just picked like sort of random, a super random character. I just picked a herbalist, just because it just seemed like a random character that I didn't like, that didn't really have any sort of purpose. The characters that are here for the worst characters. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought Jet was kind of a cool character. Like, I mean, what he did was kind of bad. And he met his end, but I didn't really see him as sort of like the worst character ever. Like he had some develop. I mean, he actually had a backstory. So there's something to his character that wouldn't make me think of him being like the worst. Like not even like if you would have worded it like evilest character or something along that lines, that he still wouldn't be up there for me. Zhao, maybe I could see him being up there. And King Kuei, he's just, I don't know, he didn't seem like the worst ever. He just seemed really sort of annoying and sort of misguided. And, he actually does sort of like learn from his mistakes. I mean, I guess some of that is more so in the comics, but, even in the series itself, he does sort of kick out sort of long face. So there is some sort of like redeeming factor for him that wouldn't necessarily put him as sort of my worst character. So yeah, no, this one's definitely interesting just because of it really just depends on I guess sort of your sort of interpretation of what is the worst character, what fits that, what sort of qualities sort of fit that sort of idea for you.
Yeah, I didn't mention it, but what I voted for was Mayor Tong, so the whole Just Us system guy from Avatar Day. not because I dislike him, but like I think he plays his role within that episode as being the character you're meant to dislike and just be
Hmm.
incredibly frustrated with. And I thought that was a role he played quite well. For just kind of being like, you really don't know your history, do you? Like thinking that Shin was a good guy, that sort of thing. Next award is Best Minor Character. The winner here is a tie between Suki and the Cabbage Merchant. Second place went to May, sorry, and third place went to Hakoda. Um, this is again one where like I maybe wished I had added a little bit of clarification in that really what I meant by this was like best character who is not one of the main characters rather than specifically like choose the most minor character who like appeared the least who you happen to like the most, because I think half of the votes went for like the obscure route and then half of them went for the like secondary main character kind of road, and that's why you see a tie between basically Suki at the top with 7 votes, and then Cabbage Merchant also with 7 votes. May got 5 votes. Hakoda got 4 votes, and then you also have like Ty Lee with 3, Piandao with 3, King Boomy with 3, and then you also have like Meng is in here with like 1 vote. Smellerby 1 vote. You know, that sort of thing. So the way I sort of interpret this, and I said this in the video, is that realistically the tie in first place kind of determines like that Cabbage Merchant is like your best like one shot very minor character winner, and then Suki is your best like supporting character winner. Uh, Rather than I think Suki and the Cabbage Merchant really being like equivalent characters like the results seem to suggest. I voted for Suki, just so everyone knows that. So I played my hand in making this a tie. Greg, what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on the results here?
That's interesting. Yeah, I voted for the Cabbage Merchant because that seemed to sort of fit the role. So yeah, this is definitely another one of those ones where how you interpret it, sort of determines it. Because I know that's always sort of like the thing with Suki as far as like she's like she's a main character, but she's not really a main character because they don't really treat her that way. But she really, she's part of the gang, so she is technically, a main-ish character. She's just sort of like, supporting the main character. So I don't know. That's definitely one that's sort of interesting to see, sort of how people take it. Because I mean, I don't know, maybe she's like, if they had a thing for like mid-level characters or something like that, she would fit like perfectly well in that sort of role. But I guess since she's not part of the original trio or four with Zuko, that she sort of gets regulated to sort of being a minor character in that regard. But for Mai and Hakoda, I definitely can see sort of why they're sort of up there, and really could go for like just sort of your other sort of favorite characters. So I could see why some of the others you mentioned were picked as well.
Yeah, I was happy to see May get second place, because at times like it almost feels like she tends to be a little bit disliked, mainly by like Zuko fans who don't think that she's the perfect character for him. But I'm glad that people see the value in her character here, so that's cool. Next award is Best Character Development. So this was meant to be the sort of counterpoint to popularity that just based off character development, but as you can expect, this one went Zuko's way. Zuko won. Second place was Aang, and third place. It said I say Sokka here, but like it's like third place is a tie between stuff that only got 1 vote, and like Sokka was the only real like standout of the group there. Like you could pretty much place everyone else because Zuko got, what was it here? 43 votes for Zuko. Considering we only got like 50 something votes, that's pretty crazy. Aang got 4 in second place, and then Sokka got 1. Other characters got 1, and so on. So I think this is the most landslide victory in that like Zuko is definitely Mr. Character Development. I think even fans of just media in general would like look to Zuko as like the definition of a good character arc, an arc of character development. So I completely expected him to win, and I did vote for him in this category because while I like Aang's development, I think Zuko's is just like the kind of textbook definition of like strong character development, and I think it was worthy winner here. But Greg, what are your thoughts on this one, and what did you vote for?
Yeah, no, I voted for Zuko as well. I think, I mean, that's always sort of been like the thing with Avatar is just, Zuko has the best sort of character arc, just overall. I mean, I think, just the fact that he came from sort of like the other side and he went, good a little bit, then he went bad and he went good finally, and, sort of that whole sort of back and forth of his character, as well as just sort of like his history, just with, just everything in the Fire Nation. I think just, that just lends itself to having character development just because there's so much sort of behind his character. So, that's why just people in general just know him and his sort of character and his sort of plight that he had to go through his whole sort of life, and just that just whole aspect of it, I think is just sort of, it makes sense that he would sort of win from that. That's, I don't know, I think that's one of those things that you don't have to think too hard about, like some of these other ones, like these, it's a lot of sort of questions here to sort of go through and sort of think about it. But that one you don't have to really, think too hard on it. I think if you're, a general fan of the show.
Definitely. Next up is Best Animal. So the winner here was Sky Bison. Second place was Winged Lemur. And then third place was a tie between Ostrich Horse and Eel Hound. And we got a lot of other votes. One vote for, of course, Regular Bear, Bosco. Shearshoe got a vote. Lizard Hound got a vote. Tiger Dillo, Otter Penguin. And then I thought it was a little bit surprising to me. One vote for Badger Mole, one vote for Dragon. Obviously, like this was the Appa and Momo award. Basically, Appa, of course, wins. I think my intent behind this was more of like the species specifically to focus more on just a cool design for an animal rather than like the character of the animal. But I think that's to be expected. Appa, of course, over Momo, and it surprised me a little bit that Ostrich Horse and Eelhound did as well. I think Ostrich Horse got the votes because it's like the animal you sort of associate with Zuko a bit, because it's like very defining of his kind of middle of the series arc of kind of questioning himself, him just going through the Earth Kingdom on the Ostrich Horse. So I think that's why it got it. But yeah, I'm definitely surprised Badger Mole especially didn't do more than one vote, just because it's such a unique animal, and it's the whole origin of earthbending type thing. But yeah, this was, I think, to be expected. I voted for Sky Bison as well. But Greg, what did you vote for, and your thoughts on the results?
Yeah, no, I think they are sort of, based off of sort of what you can sort of associate with the sort of animal. So yeah, I picked the Sky Bison or Appa just because, that's sort of what I think of just as far as just being the most sort of like useful animal in like the series overall. And, the fact that he is at least at this time unique of just being the last one, I think just sort of adds to it. And Momo, he's always with sort of Aang, so he's always sort of like in your face, as far as being sort of that, funny sort of animal that's just there and is, surprisingly smart, most of the time. So yeah, no, that's interesting. And yeah, the ostrich horse, I mean, I don't know, I guess that is really part of, the creature that Zuko had a lot in that whole part, but I don't know, I think of it from sort of the Earth Kingdom, just in general, as far as their sort of mode of sort of, I guess, warrior transport, or maybe that's just that one episode where it was sort of focused on a lot that sort of keeps it in my sort of mind. But that's interesting. And the eelhound, I think, is definitely one that's, I don't know, it definitely seems like a cool one to be in there as well.
Now, next up is Best Spirit. The winner here was Wan Shi Tong, the Knowledge Spirit. Second place went to Ko, the Face Stealer. And then in third place is Heibai, the Black and White Spirit. Other votes, Tui and Law together got 4 votes. UA as the Moon Spirit got 2. 2 votes for the Mother of Faces, which I thought was very cool in that I sort of specified a little bit that, only really focused on comic stuff for the 2 comic awards right at the end. But I thought it was actually really cool that 2 people wanted to vote for Mother of Faces in this one. And then, in a little bit surprising, like Spirit Fang, Roku's dragon, got 1 vote, and then Roku himself got 3 votes. And that's one where like I probably like would, to avoid that, I probably would have needed to like heavily clarify that like the spirit of an avatar is not spirit in the like spirit of what we're going for with this vote. But I think it would have only been confusing if, say, like Roku had won this, which thankfully he didn't, and 3 actual spirits won. But yeah, I think Wan Shi Tong from like such a plot heavy episode, and is just a really cool spirit, knowledge spirit, has his whole library. Like it's him and his location almost. It feels like go together with him, and then like Ko obviously for just the like atmosphere around him and the uniqueness, the mystery, and then Heibai just for being cool, like our first I suppose light and dark spirit. We get to see both sides. Um, I think to be expected. I think what sort of stands out here is that you realize that really thinking about it, there's not that many choices for best spirit in Avatar. Like once you get past those three that won, there's like Twin Law, UA is like just part of them basically, and then there's that baboon spirit we see briefly. The knowledge seekers are technically spirits. The painted lady, but she's like a human turned spirit, and then after that, that's all we really know. Like there's not a lot to choose from here, but I think the main three. That's probably the order I expected them in. I could have maybe seen it like Ko winning, but I voted for Wan Shi Tong, so I'm glad he did get the victory. But what was your vote and your thoughts on the results here?
Yeah, no, I think these are definitely, they sort of make sense. I voted for Hey Bye just because I don't know, being sort of like our first sort of like real sort of like spirit in light and dark, I think that sort of stands out to me. But for Wang Shitong, winning, I think, he has a lot of history behind him. He comes back later on, in the next series. So it definitely makes sense to me that he would be sort of at the top of the list. And Ko, I think he's definitely an interesting one that also sort of crosses, sort of the series and stuff. So he definitely seems interesting enough to me, to sort of be sort of in the running.
Mm-hmm. Next one is best location. So the winner here is the Western Air Temple. Second place went to Ba Sing Se, and then third place went to Ember Island. This was another one that was fairly close. The Western Air Temple only won by one vote over Ba Sing Se. And then I think third place Ember Island is a good few back, but still got more than a lot of other ones. A lot of for this one there was a lot of things that got one vote, like a lot of the other air temples got votes. The Fire Nation Palace got a vote. Sun Warrior Temple got some votes. Northern Water Tribe got some votes. The Library as well got a couple of votes. Omashu, even the Swamp got a vote. So there's a good variety here, but the three that placed were the only ones that got like a substantial amount of votes. And yeah, I voted for the Western Air Temple as well. I just thinking over Avatar, like for me, the locations that come to mind are Ba Sing Se and the Western Air Temple. I went for the Western Air Temple over Ba Sing Se just because I think the uniqueness of like the Air Temple like hanging off like the other way off a mountain is just so cool and interesting, and it also it helps that we're in that location for like a little bit. It's also memorable because this is where like Zuko joins the group as well. There's some pretty cool action that happens around here, and just like thinking about this place in its prime would have been so cool to see what this was like full of airbenders and stuff like that. So I understand these votes completely. Ba Sing Se is a really cool place because you've got the catacombs underneath, the multiple wall system. It's a really cool location. Like that's why like it has a whole piece in the soundtrack about like entering Ba Sing Se and so on. Ember Island coming next, I think makes sense just because we're on it for a decent amount. But yeah, I voted for Western Air Temple. It won, so I'm fairly happy with that. But what did you vote for, and your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I voted for Western Air Temple, as well. Yeah, I think the uniqueness, like you said, is definitely the reason why I sort of picked it. I mean, there's also a lot of history to it as well, but I think as far as like I was gonna pick like the Air Temple probably regardless. And when I thought of like which Air Temple I would have thought was like the coolest one out of all of them, that's the one that sort of comes to mind first. And it does have a lot of history to it. I mean, Zuko went there in the beginning too as well, so there's just a lot of just history around it. But yeah, no, the other two options, I think Boston saying makes sense to me. That definitely would have been a consideration for me. And Ember Island, I think I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that happens there, and there's definitely a lot of history. But I don't know. Sometimes it stands out to me. Sometimes it doesn't. It's a weird sort of one for me. But I definitely can see why people would pick it.
Mm-hmm. Next up is best villain, and I think I think this and the character development award were the most, I think, obvious ones in terms of who was going to win. This might as well have been called the Azula Award because she won extremely comfortably. So Azula first place, second place was a tie between Ozai and Zhao, and then third place was a tie between Long Feng, Hama, and Sozin, and that was everything that was voted for. For example, for how comfortable the victory was, Azula got 42 votes, and Ozai and Zhao got 2 each. So win by 40 votes when there's only like 50 going like involved in this is pretty crazy. I don't think there's too much to discuss here. I voted for Azula. Only real choice. I think this is obviously the one category where you'd have to say like Korra has a kind of better example of villains.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the interesting thing in all of this is that like Sozin for me is second place. Like if you take Azula out of this, I'd vote for Sozin over like Ozai and Zhao, who are kind of more present in the series, and probably like Long Feng after that, just because I think the comics are what makes Ozai interesting more so than really anything in the series directly. And Zhao plays his role in book one, but I don't think there's a lot more to him kind of beyond that. So, winner is obvious. The rest of it, I think, it was interesting that it's everything got pretty much the same amount of votes after that. But what did you vote for, and your thoughts on the winner here?
Yeah, no, I voted for Azula as well. That definitely seems like the clear winner for me. And yeah, I mean, I guess the other ones, I guess, I mean, they're the other villains of the series, so of course they would get some votes. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Zhao, he did have an interesting role in book one, even if there's nothing more to him really. I mean, yeah, I guess we do technically see him later on in Korra, but other than that, he doesn't really have any sort of play in it. So that I would definitely see could be up there just because of his history with everything in the whole Avatar world. So that kind of makes sense to me. I mean, there's not much to him in the series as far as being the best, but just his history of messing everything up just is enough for him to sort of be in there. And I don't know, Long Fei is interesting, but he gets sort of dealt with. And Hama, I mean, I think maybe it's the episode is really cool, is why she's sort of up there rather than what she actually has done per se. So I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah, she's like, "Do you have a comet named after you, Ozai?" No.
Yeah.
So next up, the two fun awards, which are probably the great example for like, oh yeah, this is an Avatar, like Avatar: The Last Airbender online award thing. Most attractive male and most attractive female character, the ones we always include for fun. So most attractive male character up first. The winner, to no one's surprise, was Zuko. Second place was Sokka, and surprising, kind of, third place was Ozai. So Zuko won super comfortably, 25 votes here. Sokka in second place got 5 votes. Ozai got 3, and then there was a lot of other scattered ones. Chan, the guy Azula's interested in, gets a vote. Iroh got a vote here. Haru got a vote. Aang got a vote. Jet, a bunch of other characters got a vote, but Zuko comfortably the winner, Sokka, and then Ozai. And I think the thing with Ozai is that like it's interesting that like we don't see his face until book 3, and then when they reveal it, he purposefully doesn't have this like crazy villainous design because he's meant to just be a guy. He's just a human, and he's actually a fairly good looking guy as well, and because he comes from this like good like prince line, like, and so on. So I actually in a way understand why like Ozai got votes here. But yeah, Zuko, so many fangirls, of course he was going to win, no question. But Greg, who did I vote for? I think I voted for Hakoda, who got 2 votes. Greg, what did you vote for, and was this a surprise that Zuko won this one as well?
No, I'm not surprised. I voted for Zuko, so that sort of makes sense to me. And Sokka being up there sort of makes sense as well, just as far as being sort of like the other sort of character that people really sort of like. And Ozai, I guess I'm not too surprised from that, just because even if he is only at the end, he definitely, had enough sort of play in the moments that we did see him to sort of be up there in the ranking in people's minds. So no, that kind of makes sense to me.
It's like where does Zuko get his good looks from?
Yeah.
But yeah, next most attractive female character here. And this one isn't as like clear cut as you'd think. And I kind of remember the bit of a rivalry here. So the winner was Katara. Second place went to Ty Lee, and third place went to Suki. Um, some other characters did get some votes here. Azula actually is fourth with only one vote less than Suki, so she's right involved there. Uh, Jin, who I voted for, who's obviously the girl Zuko goes on a date with in Ba Sing Se, she did get two votes, and then everything else is just kind of one vote. Like May got one vote, Avatar Kyoshi got one vote, June the Bounty Hunter got a vote, and Ursa got a vote as well. So this is interesting. The difference though between first and second place, Katara got 18 votes and Ty Lee got 12, and that was the real kind of debate about is Katara going to win or is Ty Lee going to win, and Katara won, and I'm kind of glad Katara won. As much as I wish Jane had got more votes, I'm happy kind of Katara beat Ty Lee in this one, and I'm glad Suki did well as well. So that was cool. But Greg, what did you vote for here, and your thoughts on the results?
I voted for Katara, and I definitely could see why she would be up there. And Tylee, yeah, I definitely could see with her sort of personality, why she would be up there, and Suki too as well. I think just with the characters that we have, that definitely seems like the three that might be at the top there for just in general.
Yeah. And next up, best ship or couple. Obviously, some people are to the point where like using the word couple might confuse them because just fandom is so like crazy. Like I think you have to use the word shipping at times to make it clear what you're going for. So the winner here was of course Katang. Second place was Suka, and third place was Maiko. So to translate them from shipping terms, that is first place Katara and Aang, second place Suki and Sokka, third place Mei and Zuko. And there anything else? There's Azula Chan got one vote. That was surprising. Roku Ta Min got one vote. And four people actually voted for Zutara, even though
Yeah.
I don't know what it was meant to do if that won, because it's like the spirit of this vote is like stuff that actually happens in the show. So like if the best couple that won was one that didn't happen, it's like what was it meant to do there? But thankfully it only got a couple of votes and it didn't really affect the winners or anything like that. But yeah, Katang won very comfortably. What do I have here? 33 votes. Suka got 10 and Maiko got what's it, 4? No, sorry. 6 votes. So it's close enough once you get past Katang, but I think Katang was a comfortable winner. That's what I voted for. I think it made the most sense. If we had more time with Suki and Sokka in the series, or Mei and Zuko, I think they could have been up there. But it's hard to vote against the one that ends the series on the kiss. But Greg, what did you vote for, and your thoughts on the results?
I voted for Katang, and as far as like, I don't know. I mean, I think this sort of works as far as what we see in the series, as far as the development. I mean, I guess maybe Suka and Maiko that could have been flip flopped depending on sort of your point of view of things. But for me, that definitely seems like that would be sort of the order out of like all the sort of relationships. I mean, there probably are other that are probably more, I guess, sort of like history developed just because they're older characters, but we don't see that in the series, so it doesn't really, play in my mind as far as being one that would be the top in the running.
Hmm. On a similar note, the next award is Best Romantic Moment. The winner here was Katara and Aang's kiss in the finale. In second place was their, quote unquote kiss, but in reality, they kissed in the Cave of Two Lovers. And then third place was a tie between Mei betraying Azula for Zuko and Sokka and Yue's relationship from the finale. That was a little bit of a weird one in that like no one really was who voted for that was saying a specific moment, just like in general their relationship. So it was hard to judge what exactly they meant by that. But the finale kiss won fairly comfortably with 16 votes. The Cave of Two Lovers one got 9 votes. And then the Mei betraying Azula for Zuko got 4 votes. And then a lot of other stuff got that as well. Like, as I said, the tie there, Sokka Yue, 4 votes. The reunion of Sokka and Suki in the Boiling Rock got a vote. The Katango dance got a vote. Invasion kiss for Katang. Sokka and Suki interacting in the Serpent's Pass. As well as Katara and Aang actually interacting in the Serpent's Pass also got some votes. So there was actually a good spread on this, and the kiss didn't win by a landslide, but it was very comfortable. This is what I voted for, the Katara and Aang kiss in the finale, and I get the other ones as well. I'm glad the May moment got a vote here as well, so that was cool. But yeah, I think Katang moments dominating this makes sense given that it won the previous award. But Greg, your thoughts on this one and what you voted for?
Yeah, no, the Katang has definitely sort of makes sense. I voted for number 2, Cave of Two Lovers, just because I thought it was something different than sort of the ending, which of course is going to win. But yeah, no, I think these votes make sort of sense. I like the Mai betraying Azula for Zuko. I think is definitely a pretty just I guess sort of pivotal moment in general. So it sort of has a twofold sort of emphasis. But yeah, and I guess Sokka and Yue's relationship is definitely I don't know. I guess overall it's just sort of interesting and just sort of kind of sad because Sokka sort of has to just sort of give it up, but he does find someone else, so it doesn't I guess sort of stick as much in my mind per se.
Mm-hmm. Next award is Funniest Moment. The winner, of course, was Sokka on Cactus Juice. This is another one where it might as well be the Cactus Juice Award for Funny Moment. Second place went to Zuko walking in on Sokka preparing for some alone time with Suki, which got a good few votes. And then the third place went to Appa versus Momo from Nightmares and Daydreams. In terms of stats on this, Cactus Juice won with 12 votes. The Zuko walking in and Sokka moment got 5 votes, and the Appa versus Momo got 3 votes. This is one of those categories where nearly everyone voted for something different. There's tons of stuff that has one moment that someone individually really liked, but Cactus Juice, winning by how many votes? 7 clear votes is good in this sort of a category. It's the most obvious one. It's what is it? What I voted for? Let me check my votes. Funniest moment. I actually went for what I wrote down here in my notes. Captain Sokka's hotcakes, which is the in the finale, Sokka calling everyone down to the bomb bay for tea and hotcakes. That's what I voted for as my funniest moment. But Greg, what are your thoughts on the results and what you voted for?
I picked the Water Tribe moment at the Misty Palm Oasis, but for the ones that vote that won here, I definitely the Cactus Juice one that doesn't surprise me sort of at all. I think that sort of crosses over into other things, just general sort of meme stuff. So that's not surprising. And 2 and 3, I think that definitely makes sense. Zuko's one was definitely sort of funny for sure, and Appa and Momo's. I think that's just a cool moment in general. I don't even know if I find it sort of funny. It is funny in a way, but I think that's just sort of cool how they did that from that episode that I guess isn't generally so well overall.
Mm-hmm. Next award is Most Epic Moment. The winner here is Aang entering the Avatar state to turn the tides against Ozai. Second place went to Zuko redirecting lightning at Ozai during the eclipse. Well, I suppose just after it. And then third place is a tie between Zuko and Azula's final Agni Kai, and Aang going Koizilla in the north with the ocean spirit. So a lot of great moments there. I voted for what came in second place, which was the Zuko redirecting lightning at Ozai. Such a cool moment for the character to stand up to Ozai, not just speaking to him, but then physically like that, using a technique from Iroh adds an extra layer to it. But rewatching that scene again of just Aang reaching out of the rubble, grabbing Ozai by the beard, using it to kind of pull himself up, and he's just completely glowing, and Ozai is like completely shocked and terrified. It is like the definition of an epic moment. So I completely respect that as the winner. It's a fantastic moment. Um, and this was another one that got a lot of other kind of votes as well, just individual ones. A couple of people did vote for the dragons showing Aang and Zuko the true meaning of firebending. That got a couple of votes. Everything else just got one. It's like Katara bloodbending, the fight from Crossroads of Destiny, the entire invasion got some votes, that sort of thing. But Greg, what did you vote for, and what is your thoughts on the winners here?
So I voted for number two just because that, I guess just sort of the build up to that sort of moment was enough to me to sort of make that sort of like extra epic. But no, I definitely can see why, the Avatar State versus Ozai would win. I think that whole battle is just sort of a cool one, or, just the whole ending of the series, just that whole thing is pretty cool. So I kind of can get why that would win up there. And then, yeah, the Zuko and Azula Agni Kai, I mean, that comes up for me for another one, so that's the reason why I didn't pick it here. And Quizil, I think that's definitely a cool one. I mean, I don't know, it's epic, but it's also, I don't know, that one's an interesting one, but I can see why it's up there.
Mm. Yeah, like I think it's one of those ones like where like the music where like he steps into the water and then like comes out as the giant thing. It's like is one of those great moments. But yeah, there's some fantastic ones to vote for here. Next award is most emotional moment. So the winner here was Iroh singing Leaves from the Vine to remember his son Liu Ten on his birthday. Second place went to Zuko and Iroh reuniting in the Book 3 finale. Third place went to Katara confronting Yon Ra, the guy who killed her mother. Um, I voted for the scene where Aang goes into the Avatar state after the Sandbenders reveal what they did to Appa, and
Mm.
that how that moment transitioning into Katara helping Aang get out of the Avatar state. I think the anger from Aang combined with the caring, I suppose, from Katara to help Aang get out of it is to me the most emotional moment. I think that scene came fourth, yeah, because in terms of the statistics, Iroh Liu 10 won with 11 votes. The Zuko Iroh reunion got 10 votes, and then the Katara Yon Ra moment got 7, and then the scene from the desert that I voted for got 6. So this was another one that was very close, in that it's only one vote in it, but clearly it's Iroh or Zuko as like right up there at the top. But Greg, what were your thoughts on this, and what did you vote for?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think these are all really good ones. I voted for number three. But yeah, I think it's interesting that all of these moments with Iroh and Zuko, they all have, I mean, Katara's one has Zuko in there. That's sort of like what sort of brings them together for that moment. So I guess it's just, these two characters in general, just their sort of story and their sort of history, just sort of lends itself to having these sort of emotional sort of beats that sort of, are very sort of key and pivotal to the series sort of overall. But no, I definitely sort of agree with all of these being up here.
Yeah, and I suppose like the reason why like I didn't vote for the Iroh singing Leaves from the Vine is just that I think it's lacking in something just because like I don't think we have full context to it. Like if we knew the details around what happened to Liu Ten, and I suppose what
Mm.
Iroh was doing at that time, and like I suppose why like what does he say, like I wish I could have helped you, like with what, like it's an emotional moment as it is, but like I think I probably would vote for this if we had like the context behind like some of the details here. As it is, like Liu Ten is sort of a character we never really got to see and stuff like that, and I think that's the only thing that like for me holds it back, and why I tend to choose a moment with one of the characters that we know and kind of have full context for like their emotional scenes. But there's a lot of great moments here to choose from. Um, like yeah, like Aang reacting to like the death of his people that got voted for. Aang being killed in Crossroads of Destiny got voted for. Yue's sacrifice. Even the last scene, the kiss at the end, got some votes. So there was so many things to vote for here. Next award is the most shocking moment. The winner of this one was Azula killing Aang in Crossroads of Destiny. Second place was Zuko siding with Azula against Iroh in Crossroads of Destiny. And then the third moment was the reveal that Zuko is in fact related to Avatar Roku. So that's the list. What I voted for was because I know this I have something different on this one. Most shocking moment. Yeah, I have the death of Jet at the hands of Long Feng. That's what I voted for. And yeah, as for what won and how comfortable it was, shocking moment is here. The winner won by a comfortable margin, 16 votes. The second place has got 6 votes, and the third place got 4 votes, and then everything else got 1 vote. I don't think anything else got another vote. Oh, there actually, so one other thing got 2 votes, and that was May and Ty Lee betraying Azula did get 2 votes. But it gives you an idea of like this one. People were fairly focused on the death of Aang. Not everyone worded it as the death of Aang because it's obviously a bit open to interpretation, but it is confirmed that Aang died for at least a little bit here. The Zuko turn, I think, also works as most shocking moment because just the amount of character development in the lead up to that, like you didn't expect him to turn, and when he did, it was shocking because it felt like he was going back on so much of what he'd learned. And I actually really like the fact that the Zuko being related to Roku moment got some votes here as well. I'm surprised the one that I voted for didn't get any other votes, but I'll discuss that in a second. But Greg, what did you vote for, and your thoughts on the results?
So I voted for Aang taking Ozai sort of bending away, just sort of for the whole sort of, I guess, sort of figuring out some sort of way to sort of, do things his way at the end of the series. But as far as the other ones that are up here, I think these all seem like moments that, would stick out to people. Aang sort of dying this, I think that makes sense depending on, even if you sort of interpret it as sort of like he was like temporarily sort of knocked out or whatever, but, he was pretty much dead at that point until he was able to sort of come back. So that definitely seems like it should be up there. And Zuko, sides with Azula, like you said, just sort of, just Zuko, anything with Zuko's sort of, character development is usually sort of up there in the rankings in some way or the other. And then Zuko related to Avatar Roku, I don't know, I definitely can see why that would be shocking to people just because of everything that he's sort of gone through. So, it's another Zuko moment, so I can see it just getting votes on that. I don't think that sort of shocked me sort of as much, but it's definitely, important to him sort of as a character. So I can definitely see why that would be up there.
Yeah, and as for, I suppose, my case for why I voted for the whole Jet dies moment, obviously I didn't realize that the fandom hated Jet as much as they actually do. The Jet, aka the winner of the worst character award. But I think it's one of the most shocking moments because it's the first, properly, tragic death on the show. Because, before this, we have Yue, but Yue kind of decides to sacrifice herself, and then her death is just a transformation because she becomes a spirit. And there's kind of implied kind of death in the background that the genocide of the airbenders, but we don't really see it and that sort of thing. This is just here's a character in or around the age of our main characters. We've seen him before. He had this vendetta against the Fire Nation, and he's kind of turning things around. He's been brainwashed. Here's him still trying to fight again. He breaks out of that brainwashing, and he's just immediately killed. One hit, he's killed, and he's right there with his friends and his kind of friends in Team Avatar, and it's tragic because as well that he never got a chance to, I suppose, actually properly encounter the people responsible for what happened to him, which was the Fire Nation, the Rough Rhinos, and a character so young dying without getting any of that is, I think, just really tragic because it just is so sudden. You expect, okay, he's going to get knocked out, he's going to be out of the fight, but no, he's dead. They just kill him. So, obviously, I didn't realize that people didn't like Jet as much, but I think there's enough behind that to why I think like maybe if more people had voted, if we like surveyed the entire fan base, it would be higher up. But I just wanted to make a point for that one. Um, Next award is Best Fight. So the winner here was the Zuko versus Azula Agni Kai from the finale. Second place went to Aang versus Ozai, also from the finale. And then in third place, that went to the big, like, how many characters are involved in this? The big fight in the catacombs of Old Ba Sing Se from Crossroads of Destiny. There's a bit of everyone basically in this one. Uh, and this one, Zuko Azula won very comfortably in this one. It's they got 30 votes exactly. The Aang Ozai got 11 votes, and then the big 220 fight got 4 votes, and then everything else only got like 1 vote. Like what do we have here? 1 vote for Piandao versus Sokka in the sword fight. 1 vote for the Agni Kai between Zuko and Zhao. 1 vote for the big fight of Team Avatar getting into the Earth King's palace in the Earth King. Aang versus Zuko from I think episode 4 got a vote. Katara versus Who in the swamp, and the standoff at the end of the chase also got a vote. So, this is what I completely expected to be the case. Best fight. What did I vote for here? I also voted for Zuko versus Azula. I think there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just that it's a really well animated fight, but also just the fact that it is kind of brother versus sister. It's for the throne. There's such a significance because of the finale, and it's Sozin's Comet and Parrot, so there's some crazy bending going on, I think, and the music works together with it really well. I completely get why that's the case. And then Aang versus Ozai just also has a bit of everything because it's Avatar State, but it's also some standard bending at the start. And then the 220 fight is actually really good just because there's so much going on. So I completely get all of these kind of points here, and yeah, comfortable winner for the Zuko Azula Agni Kai. But your vote and your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, I mean, I voted for the same one, that one number one, just with everything behind it. It definitely, stands out to me, just so much. But yeah, no, I think the other ones are definitely good. Aang versus Ozai, that's just the coolest in the finale, and the fight in the catacombs. I think there's a lot of moving pieces to that one, which I think definitely makes it, sort of stand out in my mind.
Yeah, like you get a little bit of Azula Katara there, Aang Zuko, then you get like Zuko Katara, Aang Azula. Iroh's involved at a certain point. There's the Daily agents. Yeah, there's tons going on there. Next up is Best Quote. The winner here went to the quote from Iroh from Bitter Work, and the quote is, "Prince Zuko, pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame." Second place went to Iroh from Lake Laogai, and his quote, "I'm begging you, Prince Zuko, it's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big questions. Who are you and what do you want?" And then the third place was a tie between the Lion Turtles quote and Aang from the Southern Raiders, and his quote, "It's easy to do nothing, but it's hard to forgive." And then the Lion Turtle quote, if you don't remember it, it's the whole, like, since beginningless time, darkness strives in the void, but always yields to purifying light. I could probably say the whole thing, but I think I'd probably mess up a part at the very beginning of it, the true heart and that sort of thing. This is another one where, like, everyone has their own favorite quote. Everything Iroh said nearly got voted for here, and so on. The winner won with 7 votes. The Who Are You, What Do You Want? Second place got 5 votes, and then the tie in third place went to they both got 3 votes. So Lion Turtle got 3 votes, and then the Aang quote from the Southern Raiders also got 3 votes. What I voted for Hugh from the swamp, and his line, "Sure, you think you're any different from me or your friends or this tree? If you listen hard enough, you can hear every living thing breathing together. You can feel everything growing. We're all living together, even if most folks don't act like it. We all have the same roots, and we're all branches of the same tree." That's what I voted for. But yeah, I sort of get why it won. I think we'll discuss the winners of this in a second. But Greg, what did you vote for?
Yeah, I voted for I guess the second part of the third tie, the Lion Turtle. That one always sort of stood out to me.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a weird one for me in that like that of all of the Iroh quotes kind of surprised me that it won, and it surprised me that it won as comfortably as it did in a category where you expect a huge variety in votes. Um, I could have understood the second quote, the it's time for, who are you, what do you want to win, but like I like the whole prize is not the opposite of shame but its source, because it is this, I suppose it's one that people remember a lot because it's not just good for the characters, but it's also just a general, like, that's probably the best explanation of just that concept in general, like in terms of like a dictionary definition of it probably as well, that it's good like outside advice and like definition as well as just being good within the show. But I think there are better like character driven quotes within the show. But I do sort of get why it won. But other than that, I like everything else. The Lion Turtle quote being in there. I like that Aang had a nice piece of wisdom in there. It's easy to do nothing, hard to forgive. And I do like the like loud guy quote as well. But Greg, what are your thoughts on the winners here?
Yeah, I think, pretty much everything from Iroh can probably sort of work. But I mean, I guess this one, just it being towards, Zuko, I think is it has a good chance of winning, so I can sort of see that one. I mean, I think I probably remember the second one a bit more than the first one, I think, just for my personal sort of memory. But no, I can see why it would sort of win. I think this one was just sort of hard to do in general. I think, like you said, there's just, there's a lot of quotable things from the show. So, everyone sort of has, something that sort of sticks out to them from whatever part of the show. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of quotable moments for sure.
Yeah, like just looking at some of the ones that even got like one vote, I'm just like, yeah, on like another day I could see like that winning, like the line where like Zuko talks about his struggles, I think from the book one finale, and this is where like I think Azula gets mentioned for one of the first times. This is the whole like I was lucky to be born kind of line, and so on. She was born lucky, that sort of thing. But yeah, but best quote is always one of those ones where like there's a huge amount of things like I I counted the votes on paper just because I found it was the easiest way to do it, and yeah, this takes up like a whole page of my notebook, just the amount of quotes that there are. And no, I didn't write out every single quote in full. Like I have stuff down here like Zuko's struggle for the line I just said there. I wrote Destiny from the finale. Destiny's a funny thing, that sort of thing. So that's that. Next up, we have Best Music. And the winner here is a tie. So this is the first one where the winner has been... Oh no, second one where the winner has been a tie. And it's a tie between The Avatar's Love and Last Agni Kai. The Avatar's Love, of course, is the music piece that plays during the Aang Katara kiss to end the show. And Last Agni Kai plays during Zuko and Azula's fight. Second place went to the song from the show, Leaves from the Vine. And then third place went to the track Peace Excerpt, as well as the main Avatar theme. So a lot of different kind of things to choose from here. This is always a bit of a weird one to do, just because half of the people are familiar with the music and know the like tracks from like the listings on YouTube and so on. Other people don't, so at times it's kind of difficult. There was a lot of variety here, but in the end, the Avatar's Love and Last Agni Kai both got 11 votes. Second place, Leaves from the Vine, got 5 votes. Peace Excerpt and Main Theme got 4 votes, and then everything else got 1 vote. Safe Return, Sungi Horn, the outro to the last episode, the Lion Turtle chanting music, the music that plays during the reunion of Zuko and Iroh, and what you voted for, Greg, and I suppose what did you vote for, and what are your thoughts on the results to Best Music?
Yeah, and I think is this is definitely an interesting one. I voted for Entering Boxing, say main theme, but I definitely could see why these other ones would win. I think the music from the show is just it's really good in general, so it's kind of hard to pick it. I think I have like the unofficial soundtrack. I just clicked through it a bunch of times and just sort of compared one to one as far as to figure out which one I thought sort of sounded the most interesting to me. But I guess if I were to pick one, from the show specifically, as far as sort of like what it actually meant in the moment, it probably would have been sort of the last Agni Kai. That's sort of one that always sort of sticks out to me. But I had already picked that moment for something else, so I try to spread my stuff out. But no, I definitely can see why all these would be up here. And the main theme being, on the list doesn't sort of surprise me. There's also like so many different like I guess variations of the main sort of theme as well. So there's different parts of that too as well.
Yeah, I voted for the Avatar's Love. Um, and it was a choice, I think, between me picking that or the other one that came in first place. I went for this over Last Agni Kai just because I think when you listen to Last Agni Kai on its own without the visuals, like it's not the most substantial like just track on its own. It fits perfectly for the scene that it's in, but I think it's not the most like enjoyable one to listen to just on its own because there are moments of it when it is just like sort of silence, clap, silence, like clap, because most of that fight is kind of done, in effect, kind of with silence and the special effects. Whereas I think the Avatar's Love is more of a kind of complete piece that's good to listen to on its own. Next up, we get into our 5 awards that are all sort of related together of best sort of fighting moments. So we have one for each element and then one for the non-benders. And we'll start with best airbending moment. And the winner of the best airbending moment went to Aang firing an air projection of himself at Zuko in Crossroads of Destiny. Second place went to Aang fighting the volcano in The Fortune Teller. And then third place went to Aang's air sphere in the Avatar state against Ozai. And there was a lot of different votes in this. Like, obviously, pretty much all of them are Aang moments, of course, because, like, the only other character who airbends is, like, Gyatso in a flashback. And even that did get a vote, actually. Aang and the Gyatso firing the pies at people. But, yeah, everything else, like, the only other one that got a notable amount of votes was Aang's crazy air current against Jet from the episode Jet. That's probably one of the best animated scenes, actually, from Book 1, just that little moment. But, yeah, I really like the air projection moment. That's what I voted for. Because it's the only time he uses this, and it's such a unique and clever move. Just, like, he's moving really quickly and stops suddenly and, like, just kind of, like, thrusts himself forward. And this whole, like, this air silhouette just comes off him and, like, fires into Zuko. I really wish we had seen that again somewhere, even in Korra. Just that's how clever it was. And it won for not too comfortably. It got 9 votes. Aang versus the Volcano got 7 votes, and then the Avatar State moment got 5 votes. So, notable, but not a super comfortable victory. But what are your thoughts on this, and what did you vote for?
I voted for number 2, Aang versus the Volcano. I think that one definitely sort of stands out to me as far as him sort of really sort of showing what he can really do. But I definitely can see why these other ones would have worked. I mean, I think the air projection one and stuff is just so sort of like unique, and it's something that, like you said, we never sort of see again. So I mean, it definitely stands out as far as just being a unique sort of airbending moment. And yeah, Aang's sort of airspear against the Avatar State versus Ozai. I guess that's sort of makes sense just because of that whole sort of battle. So nah, I can see why these are up there.
Next up is best water bending moment, and the winner went to Katara freezing Azula in the finale to, I suppose, defeat her. Second place was Katara's water dome when confronting Yon Ra in the Southern Raiders. And third place was a tie between Katara versus Hama from the Puppet Master, and also Katara bloodbending in the Southern Raiders. There was a lot of things that got a good amount of votes in this category, in that it's fairly close when you look at the results, in that the winner got 10 votes, the second place got 7 votes, third place got 6 votes each, and then there's also like Hama bloodbending for the first time got 4 votes. Aang's use of waterbending in the Avatar state in episode 2 got 4 votes. Katara versus Hugh from the Swamp got some votes. Katara, her giant wave that she does in The Awakening from 3 got a vote. Katara freezing Zuko in the Book 1 finale got votes. There was a lot of different things up for play here, but I think the first 2 definitely kind of show off really well, of just like Katara freezing Azula is a clever move because look, like in such a crazy situation against like Sozin's comet powered Azula, for her to be able to like nail that move like she did, it was clever, it's powerful, and then I think what really puts it over the edge is that like she then kind of like just breathes out of her nose and like frees herself, and the way she like is so in control of that batch of water that she just can like melt specific parts of it is like really really cool. Um, I voted for the Katara's water dome in the Southern Raiders, just because I think it's just a great example of control of just like it's lashing rain and she just stops rain over a certain area and holds it in place. As it was this perfect demonstration of like, you let me go and look how powerful I am now, and also served to like build up a good amount of water for her potential attack that could have killed him. So that's what I voted for. And then yeah, a lot of bloodbending stuff got votes for here. I don't really get why people voted for Katara bloodbending in the Southern Raiders more than her bloodbending against Hama. Like I suppose people included that in the Katara versus Hama fight, but I almost treat it as like being kind of separate moments because Katara obviously like smashes Hama in like their initial fight and stuff like that. But that I like the general fight. But I was kind of surprised that a lot of bloodbending moments got like picked so much, just because I think like thematically they're really good and really strong, but like a lot of times like visually it's kind of the same thing. But I get why people chose it. It's a super cool technique, but I get why the winners won. But what are your thoughts on the winners and your own vote?
Yes, I mean, I picked, what did I pick again? Oh yeah, I picked the freezing water as well, just because of just the importance of that moment in general. But I think at one point, well, while creating this list, I've probably gone through like all of these different moments that are in the top, three or four or five that you've sort of mentioned here. So I think there's a lot of just good sort of water bending moments from Katara, of course, in general, just because of what she's her progress learning water bending over the whole series. I think has been one of the fun things to watch as someone who didn't really know much about her bending, just like what it was to becoming a master water bender. I think that's definitely cool just to see that whole sort of progress here. But no, the ones that are up here I think are definitely some of my personal favorites as well.
Hmm. Next up is Best Earthbending Moment. The winner here was Toph using metal bending for the first time in the Guru. Second place is Toph versus the entire Earth Rumble organization from the Blind Bandit. And third place was a tie between Toph metal bending on the airship in the finale and Boomy taking back Omashu. Yeah, a lot of really strong moments here. The winner won very comfortably here, 13 votes versus second place getting 8. And then the tie is between two things that got 3 votes. And then a lot of other stuff just got 2 votes here and there. Like Kyoshi separating Kyoshi Island got a vote. The Daily taking down the walls. Toph's Seismic Sense got some votes. Aang's Crystal Armor from the Catacombs got a vote. Boomy versus Aang, I was actually happy that someone voted for that fight because I think it's just a great demonstration of just earthbending from episode 5. But yeah, I voted for what came second, which is Toph versus the whole Earth Rumble organization. It's just a great demonstration of Toph's earthbending style and her like owning some people. So that was cool to just see a continuous stream of like amazing earthbending. But I get why, like I suppose more of a kind of plot character perspective, why the metal bending moment got focused, because it's a special bending technique and because one of our main characters discovers it here. And it is a good moment in that sense. I just probably tend to lean more towards a more action moment for this rather than that moment, which is like, it's not the coolest use of metal bending. She just punches the door a few times and it comes off. But there's a significance to what she has discovered. So I understand why it was picked. But yeah, I like a lot of the choices here. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, I think my thoughts is similar to that. I think number one is definitely, it's important to the character, to the series at large. Like, definitely, it plays a huge role into, the Avatar world in general, just the fact that, you can metal bend now. But it definitely doesn't seem like as cool, I guess, to me, sort of in the moment versus, what I picked as well, which was number two. Just her sort of like just taking on everyone by herself without any sort of help. Especially since that was sort of like, that was important for her to sort of show, her family, even though it doesn't really change anything at the time and it takes a long time for that to actually change till the comics. But I think that's definitely one of the cool moments of just, Toph. But I think there's a lot of cool earthbending moments in general in the show. So I think there's definitely a wealth of ones to pick for sure.
Hmm. Next up is best firebending moment. The winner here was the dragons, Ran and Shaw, showing Aang and Zuko the true meaning of firebending with their fire tornado of multiple colors. Second place was the Azula versus Zuko final Agni Kai. And then third was Zuko redirects lightning against Ozai. And yeah, the Dragons won somewhat comfortably, 14 votes versus 10 for second place. And then the third place one got 5 votes. Uh, Similar to that, just below that actually, for fourth place was Ozai's first use of the comet to do that giant like fire blast thing that's
Hmm.
melting the Earth
Hmm.
Kingdom. Um, a few people voted for that. Um, After that is what I voted for, which was Iroh's comet-assisted attack to take down the walls of Ba Sing Se. I always maintained that I think that's the most powerful firebending attack that we've seen, um, just because
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
doesn't charge it up for that long and he just like knocks the whole walls down. And then also Iroh's breath of fire, what he's sort of known for, also got some votes. As did just like Azula lightning bending for the first time, uh, Iroh lightning bending, that sort of stuff. But yeah, the winner here was fairly comfortable. The top two definitely are clearly in the votes stand out above the others. But I'm actually really glad that the dragon moment kind of came out on top, just because they're getting to see the different colors, the control, the plot significance to it, and the fact that it's coming from like dragons as well is just super super cool. It's such a memorable moment from the series, the dragon showing them that. So I'm actually glad that won, and it wasn't just the maybe to be expected final Agni Kai, even though that is a worthy winner. But what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely. I mean, it makes sense. The number one for me. That's the one that I voted for as well. I think it's a pretty sort of, I guess, pivotal moment. Just in general, just them sort of understanding the meaning of firebending and just seeing all the colors and everything like that. I think it definitely stands out to me. I mean, there are a lot of cool sort of firebending moments, and Azula versus Zuko. I think that's definitely a cool one. If I didn't have that as another one, I might have had that one here as well. And Zuko redirecting lightning, I think I had that for another one as well. So I definitely can see why all of these are up here as well as some of the others you mentioned.
And then next one up here is best non-bender fighting moment. So a chance for the non-benders to win an award for their action scenes. And the winner here was Suki capturing the boiling rock warden solo. Second place went to Sokka versus Pian Dao in their sword fight. And in third place went to Ty Lee versus Suki on top of the gondola in the boiling rock. So a lot of Suki action here. And this was fairly close. Suki capturing the warden won with 10 votes. Sokka versus Piandao got 8 votes. Ty Lee versus Suki got 6 votes. Just behind that actually was Jet versus Zuko, their sword fight, which got 5 votes. And a bunch of other stuff got that. Ty Lee chi blocking Azula, and I suppose like most people I think included the like May and her knife action in or around that time as well.
Mhm.
Um, Sokka on the airship when he was like defending Toph on the outside with the boomerang and the sword got some votes. Um, Ty Lee versus Sokka got some votes as well, which was fun. And then the Blue Spirit stuff from the Blue Spirit episode got some votes as well. And one vote for Sokka taking a combustion man with the boomerang. That's all the votes for this one. But yeah, what I voted for what won here, which was the Suki capturing the Boiling Rock Warden solo. I think it's just the best. It arguably is like one of the best like single accomplishments from like any character in the series, like just doing something. in that like she's on the ground, she has to go up like 2 floors to get to the warden, and she just does it in the space of like under a minute. And the whole effect here of just like she shows her agility, going up the walls, great combat skills, taking everyone out, captures the warden on her own, and then everyone else is like all the way behind her and like they're out of breath following her up there, and she seems okay. It's just great demonstration, and I think it had to win. I would have been pretty annoyed if this one didn't win, but the other ones are good too, like Salka Piandao, Tylee versus Suki on the gondola is one you almost forget that like yeah, that's a really good non-bender fight. That those two match up very evenly, and so that's why I always say that like since they're both Kyoshi warriors now and they must have shared knowledge, Tylee and Suki to both must be like even better now that they kind of know stuff from each other. But yeah, that really cool to see Suki win one. And Greg, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I voted for that one as well. I think that's definitely just sort of stands out to me as far as like her having like a really cool sort of action scene that was all her own, and like all the other characters thought that it was really cool as well. So it's cool to see that sort of play out. Sokka versus Panda, I definitely thought of that one as well. And then Tylee versus Suki. Yeah, that's another one that's really good. But yeah, you sort of forget about that one, even though it was pretty interesting and it did have sort of a pivotal sort of meaning later on. But no, so no, I think these are all good.
And then we move into the final two awards, which are more comic focused to give them a little bit of a spotlight. First one is Best Avatar: The Last Airbender comic. So the winner here was The Search. Second place went to The Promise, and third place was a tie between Smoke and Shadow and The Rift. And this one was very interesting to me because I could see just from the counts that not as many people voted in these two categories as they did in other ones. So very clearly, a good few people who voted in this specifically hadn't read the comics yet. I think one or two people even mentioned like I haven't read the comics yet, but I have heard about this one, so I'm going to vote for it. And that's I think a large reason why The Search wins in such a landslide. It got 33 votes, and The Promise came second with 5. And then the tie between the third places is 2 votes each. But interestingly, basically everything got a vote. So North and South got 1 vote, Smoke and Shadow got 2 votes, The Lost Adventures got a vote, Imbalance got a vote as well, even though it's like obviously just out. The Rift, as I said, got some votes. So that was actually quite interesting to see that everything, even The Lost Adventures, did get a vote here. Just, of course, not the free comics didn't get votes, but I don't think they were ever going to get a vote, really. But yeah, I voted for The Search as well, because I honestly do feel it is the best Avatar comic we've got so far, just because it's so important. It tells Ursa's story extremely well. It kind of reintroduces Azula back into the spotlight and makes that an important plot point. And then even some of the other stuff with like the two waterbenders, the Mother of Faces. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. So I think it does actually deserve its kind of big victory here. I am glad The Promise got some votes as well, because I think people forget how significant that book is and how much goes on, especially compared to some of the more recent comics, which aren't anywhere near as eventful as The Promise. So I'm glad those two actually got some spotlight. But Greg, what were your thoughts on this one and what you voted for?
Yeah, I mean, I voted for The Search as well. I think that one just sort of stands out to me as being sort of, the most sort of, I guess, just important one. I mean, the fact that, that sort of the idea behind that had already been sort of like pre-planned, and the way that they were actually sort of able to tell the story, I think definitely, works as well as it could have been told if it was, like a fully animated thing. So for me, that definitely sort of works out. But yeah, no, I think the other ones sort of being in there, I think is definitely makes sense to me as far as those being the top ones out of the comics we have so far.
And then the last award is Best Avatar: The Last Airbender comic moment. The winner here went to Ursa confronting Ozai in prison with unclouded eyes from Smoke and Shadow Part 3. Second place went to Katara speaking at her mother's grave in North and South Part 3. And then third place went to Ursa and Zuko reuniting in the Search Part 3. So This was actually a very interesting one in that, given the way the vote for the previous one went, I thought it'd be nothing but moments from the search, and to a degree that's the case. But people voted for such specific moments from the search that it ended up kind of spreading the votes around, and so the winner here won by getting 5 votes. I think that is the smallest like amount of votes to get a victory. Um, what else do we have here? Kaya Grave got 4 votes, and then the other ones that came in third got 3 votes, and then everything else got either 1 or 2 votes. And there is a lot of Ursa stuff from the search. There's like the reveal of like what Ursa's involvement in like Azulon's death. You know, Ursa as Noriko apologizing to Azula. Some people voted for Ursa's backstory in general. Some people voted for Zuko realizing the error in his promise from the promise. A lot of different moments actually got voted for here, more than I expected given what the result for the best comic was. But I'm glad I voted for the Ursa Unclouded Eyes moment. And I voted for this over, I think, anything from the search, because I think the search and all of Smoke and Shadow kind of builds up to this moment that in Ursa's arc, her confronting Ozai was so important, and they got it right. It's such a good moment because it's good for her. I think it was important for Ozai to hear this, and the fact that it was kind of Iroh who helped her get to the point where she was confident enough to go in there and say it, and just the significance of what she says, of just she realizes that like he has no room in his heart for anyone else, and that's why he has no relationship with his brother, with his kids, anyone. And just seeing that she has no reason to fear him when he is so, pathetic like that, I thought it was, really fantastic. There's great other moments from the comics as well, and I'm glad a lot of them got highlighted here. But Greg, what did you vote for, and your thoughts on the winner here?
Yeah, I think this one's an interesting one. I voted for Zuko stopping the blast on the carriage to mute Ozai society from forming the whole sort of fire vortex. But I think the ones that are up here definitely, seem like moments that could definitely sort of be ones that sort of stand out to people. I mean, I think ones with Ursa I think are interesting just because of, her sort of her history. So the fact that there's 2 from her that are at least up here in the top, even if they don't have a lot of votes, I think is definitely, worth it. And, Katara speaks at her mother's grave, I think is definitely one that would stand out to people just because of the whole history of Katara with her mother, and just, the whole history from the original series. I think it's definitely, enough for that to sort of come up, out of the rankings, even if, I guess that, series of books overall isn't sort of the best well liked out of all of them.
Yeah. Like, if I was to pick like a second one, like I'd probably go for like Aang and Zuko talking from the end of the Promise, where like they both talk about their flaws. Basically, I think that's one of the best written parts of that book. But yeah, really, really interesting results here, and that is the last award. So all 35 of them, we just went through them there, and I think it is a really interesting, just general like survey of how the fandom feels about the show, and it was interesting to see like how I felt versus like more people basically. And because like it was such a amount of votes as well, like I got the impression that like if you spent the time to vote in this award, all these categories, you're a pretty hardcore fan, because like it took a while to go through all of these and vote in them. So I think it gives you a sense of like what like proper hardcore fans actually feel about the show, and there are some interesting results in all of this. I think obviously it's kind of funny, but like one of the more shocking things is that like, wow, the fandom really doesn't like Jet. Like him winning that category so comfortably was very interesting to me. And then the episodes, like best and worst episodes, also have some interesting moments. Like, oh, I didn't realize people liked the Avatar and the Fire Lord that much. Like I knew it was liked, but that much. And just other little bits, like I didn't know the Avatar Day was as disliked from book 2. Little bits and pieces from that. But I think it was an interesting kind of experiment to do, and to have a discussion of it here as well. But what's your takeaway from this kind of award surveyor of the fandom.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely. I mean, you definitely had to be sort of committed to filling out this and this, like some of it. I mean, even I had to like sort of think back or like check the wiki to make sure I was thinking of sort of the right moment. So it definitely definitely requires some time to put them in here. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think there's definitely some interesting results here from sort of which ones are sort of worst liked and which characters. I mean, I think it's interesting when we have done this before. How it seems some of the votes have sort of changed or have swayed over time as far as like what's considered like the more favorite book now versus what it used to be, or sort of but I think there's some things that are always sort of pretty standard and pretty constant from people, like just everyone sort of liking Zuko and his sort of progress. I think that's one of the sort of constants, as well as just sort of Iroh in general. I think that those are some of the things that sort of stand out to most people, even if they're not sort of like such a hardcore fan. You can sort of gravitate towards those sort of elements of those characters. So no, I think this is definitely pretty cool to see how this turned out in the end, from going through all these questions.
Yeah, like yeah, a lot of it is like I think as expected. In that, yeah, the best book I think surprised me a little bit, but like a lot of the best episode stuff I think is kind of on par. Like the Storm being the best book one episode was a little surprising, but right there behind it is the finale. 120.
Hmm.
Best book two episode 220. The obviously there's some confusion around the best overall and best book three episode with the three votes for the whole finale, but in general, so many people voting for both of the last two final parts of the finale and so on. And then yeah, like you said, like really easy stuff, like anyone where it was like specifically about a character and Zuko realistically was in with a chance, he pretty much won. So like he won favorite character, most attractive male character, best character development. Like it's really interesting to see that just those seem like constants within the fandom. Like anyone could do this survey, and I don't think you get different results in that category. Same with like best villain. I don't think you're ever gonna get anyone but Azula winning that category. And then there's like more fun ones that like when does it ever come up, like most attractive female character, but inevitably it probably does come down to Katara versus Ty Lee. And I think that's one where at times it might go back and forth on that. You might initially think Ty Lee, but then wait, Katara, like book three Katara, like stuff like that. And yeah, like the tougher ones are definitely like funniest moment and best quote, because they're the most, I think,
Hmm.
subjective in that like there's so many good quotes, and some people might go for the words of wisdom, some people might go for the really character heavy moment, and that I think I went for a long time with my awards of having Katara from the Painted Lady saying, I will never ever turn my back on people who need me as my best moment, my best quote, but in the end I went more than the words of wisdom moment from Hugh versus the character driven moment from Katara and so on. So they're interesting stats for sure. We I'll probably do a Korra one at some point. It's not going to be anytime soon. I'm going to give this a couple of months before I start doing that, because um, with Korra, obviously, like in around 50 people voted in this. Korra is not as liked as Avatar, so votes will probably go down. So I don't want to do it immediately because I probably won't get as many. So I want to wait and see what happens with that. But it probably will happen eventually, and that's going to be very interesting to see, because I think Avatar, like we've had it so long that yeah, most of the awards like it's fairly obvious in or around this. You probably have one or two things in mind for every category. Korra is still, I think, being like dissected and like discussed. There's few things that are of course going to be, I think, constants with that as well, but there's still, I think, a few years before we fully look back on it and it sort of becomes the classic like Avatar is. So I think there'll be a few more hot takes, I think, in like Korra award results. But I don't know. What's your impression of that? Like, if we did Korra awards, like, do you think it would be more sort of varied compared to like what you and I would suspect, given that we feel fairly similarly about the series?
Yeah, I think that. there's definitely a potential for that. I also think it's just a different type of series. I think there's more options for things, and there's more chances for things to go sort of either way with sort of characters and sort of thematic sort of elements and stuff like that. So I think there's a more variation or more range of options for people to pick. So I think that might sort of affect it. No, definitely as far as just sort of what people will pick and as well as just sort of, what people feel about the series as well, since it is, slightly, even though it has been done for a while, it's, still newer than Avatar is and doesn't have the same sort of, I guess, status with everyone as well.
Yeah, like ones that would be more interesting in like Korra, obviously best villain and best spirit are two immediately that were going to be like much more
Hmm.
open in terms of like different ones. Like I got the impression like Rava probably will win best spirit, but who knows? It could be something else. And then best villain arguably becomes one of the most interesting Korra awards because the villains are such a key part of each season and so on. So there, there's interesting stuff like that for sure. Uh, but yeah, we'll wait on that. It's not going to be anytime soon. But yeah, that's the awards here. If you have any questions, if you're listening to this and have any questions about the results, leave them in the comments, and I'll answer them if I can. If you have any questions about how the results went or are, um, but yeah, that's pretty much all we wanted to say in the episode. We'll probably get back into like starting stuff like the Movers podcast again. We just had a little bit of a break while we're sorting out this awards thing and so on. But we'll be building up to hopefully some of the other books coming out in the next couple of months and so on. Hopefully there'll be news about like preview pages for the Kyoshi novel and that sort of thing. But yeah, you'll hear about upcoming shows when we announce them. But yeah, that's been episode 201 of the Avatar Online podcast. It's been myself and Greg. Thanks for listening, and bye.
Bye bye.